Sanders throws too high and intercepted. And being run back by J.T. Woods inside the 10 and out of bounds. They're going to mark him right near the 10-yard line.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Bazelak in trouble, lofts it up to the end zone. They got it, touchdown. Tight end, Daniel Parker. And this one is in the books. Missouri wins it by 1.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
All three tight ends on the field again. It's a run on the delay. Thomas, the touchdown. And Utah strikes first.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Blitz coming. Pitched up. Prescott unloading. End zone. Caught by Lamb. Touchdown.
Now here's Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina and Garrett Ross joins me as a co-host. Craig and Smoky, in case you guys haven't figured this out, they have the same last name. They are taking a little Father's Day trip together, which is very cool. So, not wanting to begrudge them that opportunity, I said I will host the show, and then I said Garrett will host it with me, whether he likes it or not.
I don't mind. You know, it's been about a week or about a month or so since I've been behind a mic, but I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, well, for those who don't know, Garrett and I used to have to do this when Smokey would go on vacation anyway back in our You Make the Call days at KRZI. So this is nothing really new to us. It's new. It's the first time we've done it in 2.5 years, but even still, here we are, Paul and Garrett back together again, and super happy to have you back here. And if you guys haven't seen Garrett, this is what he looks like. Sorry to either disappoint or overly titillate you, depending on your personal taste. But there's Garrett right there, and he joined us about a month ago, and happy to have him with us. But Garrett, you normally would start talking about college football, but we have a lot of college football stuff to talk about today. But we're going to interweave in and out of some things. Ari Temkin joins us, Big 12 Radio, Cowboys Radio. Next, Landry Locker at 3:30. Grayson Grundhafer will talk the continued recruiting season at 4 o'clock. 4:30. Former Rice quarterback and college football analyst Taylor McHargue on with us. And then at 5 o'clock, we have our AD replay of the 3 ADs we had on Wednesday. And we had to intersperse and weave in and out of some Mitch Thompson news on Wednesday, so about the Baylor baseball coach. So I kind of want to do just a big chunk if everybody could see that. We got a lot of positive response from it, so we're going to replay that again. And, of course, the top 5 at 5:55 at the end of the show. But last night, and we do this after championships, and we'll do it in a week or so after the Stanley Cup. But the Warriors are a super dynasty. I mean, 4 titles now since 2015. Steph Curry, I know, on the list, he's in the top 15, but I mean, it's hard to put him into the top 5 because of who those are. But right now, to me, he's a top 5 the last 25 years guy. If you take out, the Kareems and the guys like that who retired before the early 90s, then he's certainly a top 5 dude.
I I don't know if I would necessarily say 5. Definitely inside the top 10. But I would just have to go back and look. But I think there's been so many talented players to come out in that time frame that he's definitely inside of there. I think the way he changed the game of basketball and really integrated, like, we're going to shoot threes, we're going to get up and down the court and back off on defense. I think that, if you look at just that aspect, definitely you could put him in the top 5 for his impact on the game.
Yeah, you know what was interesting to me about the game last night was not just the offensive explosion at the end of the first quarter that led to that win for the Warriors, but it was, and the thing that wins titles for them is when the big three are all together, when it's, Steph and Clay and Draymond. Draymond is the X factor when he can just mess things up on defense for everybody. And I think the moment was a little bit too big for a very young Boston team. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they'll be around. They're going to be, the Boston and the Bucks and those teams in the East will be around. But, it was a very young team that hadn't done that before. And then it was a team that was used to doing it for a long time and then had crazy injuries for the last 2 years. And then back together at full strength. They're a championship team, and it's super impressive, and it's easy to hate a team that, wins all the time. But, man, Steve Kerr's a Hall of Fame coach. They've got 3 surefire Hall of Famers. And not only that, when you find a guy like Jordan Poole, who all of a sudden is a star for you, Andrew Wiggins, who was the top pick in the draft but never really found his sea legs, in Minnesota, of course, who does really?
Yeah.
But then comes over and has his first All-Star season there. And not to mention some of the guys that were injured this year for the Warriors, so they've got coming down the pipeline. It's just really, really impressive to me. I can't. I think you have to appreciate dynasties when you're seeing them, because while they do seem to happen, at least one per sport per era, they just don't come around that often.
No, and I think the most unique thing with this championship is if you go back 2 seasons ago, Golden State was arguably one of the worst teams in the league, right? To be able to kind of re-identify yourself and put the key pieces around and bringing in Jordan Poole, I don't know if we can put enough emphasis on how important that move is. Because when you look at him with the Warriors, I think he's a better fit overall for that scheme and that system than Kevin Durant ever was. But at the same time, Durant's a star. But I think when you look at the nucleus, he kind of bought into that. We're a selfless organization. We're going to do everything we can to make everybody around us better. And you can't really beat anybody like that when everybody's bought in the way they are.
Yeah, and look, Kevin Durant was going to work out for them because that made them just completely unstoppable. But I do think that finding, okay, who's the guy? Because, again, you're in the NBA, nobody plays 82 games.
No.
Nobody plays 82 games. So who's the guy who, when Steph is going to sit down, is going to give you some of those points. And, the Warriors had that with, when everybody was injured, Steph's out. Well, KD's here. Clay's out, but Steph and KD are there. It was kind of how it was. To kind of invent that with Jordan Poole. And then look, the contributions they get from guys, Iguodala probably in his last season played, and Otto Porter and everybody else. It just, they kind of do remind me a little bit of the, they're the team that reminds me most of the Jordan-era Bulls, and not in the way that they play, but, of course, Steve Kerr was on those teams, but in the way that – and they're kind of an intersection between the Jordan-era Bulls and the first Popovich teams, because Steve Kerr is kind of the bridge there. But the Jordan-era Bulls, in that you have your big three who do things, and, it was Jordan, Pippen, Horace Grant, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, but then you had a bunch of other guys, the role players that just were really Ron Harper, this team in particular, not the one with KD that's kind of that's just, an all-star team amongst itself. But this one, like Jordan Poole, was kind of like a Ron Harper type, or, when you got guys coming off the bench that just do the things that they do, really, really kind of amazing to me. And of course, it's a different era of basketball and not really fair to compare, but I got that same feel in that, when I was a kid watching those Bulls teams, you never really felt like anything bad was going to happen to them. In the last couple of weeks watching the Warriors, no matter what happened, Steph hurt his ankle or whatever, got hurt in game 2, was it, or game whatever it was? Whatever it was, and it's it'll be fine. It just they just felt like they were going to be fine and deal with it because it wasn't that bad of an injury. So Yeah, just really, really impressive, and I enjoyed the series. And again, who you root for? You root for the team that has the most titles ever in the Celtics, or the team that's the new dynasty? It's
Well, in most cases, I think a lot of people would be turned off by the dynasty. I think that kind of wears on a lot of people. If you look at college football in general, when you talk Alabama, I think everybody gets sick of seeing them in the title game year in and year out. But for some reason, that Golden State team, I guess it's just because there's not a lot of animosity or anything. I know Draymond kind of rubs people the wrong way, but they seem to do everything right. Like, you want to model, I don't care what sport you're in, at any level, you want to model yourself after what Golden State's been able to do. So they are one of those franchises that I can always go in and respect what they do. And I don't think you could say that a lot about really any other franchise. I mean, you go back and you mentioned the Bulls. Now there's a lot. Obviously the Last Dance showed us the dirty side of it. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's not happening with Golden State, but it's not something that you ultimately think of at first. You think of like, they have a legit culture and they're able to win.
I think the one thing that's the biggest difference is Michael Jordan doesn't have friends like all the rest of us have friends.
No.
It's different for him. But Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green are tight, and that emanates through the rest of the roster. As opposed to with Jordan, it was, I am taking this team here. Either get on the buggy or get out.
Yeah, and I think that's really what, if you look at the Golden State, I feel like they have more similarities to that Spurs franchise you mentioned earlier, because of there's not animosity, there's not the star power, there's not all of the ins and outs you hear. It's just clean, straightforward, and it's really disciplined basketball. And when you look at Steve Kerr as a coach, I think he'll end up in the Hall of Fame as one of the greatest coaches ever, but I think he would have been a great coach regardless. But the knowledge that he picked up working with Pop, working with Phil, that has helped it take him to another level that I don't think we'll ever see again.
Yeah, no, it's weird because there's all that. So, So Cheeto Miko, remember Steve Kerr he was with the Magic? Yeah, that was a long time ago. High performer, his rep continues as he inspires. I saw a tweet last night when he committed to Arizona, was his only what we would call a Power 5 offer now. Committed to Arizona, they had 3 wins the year before, and then by the time they left, they were Pac-12 champions. That's the kind of energy that he brings. I know that some people don't like him because of his political stances. I don't care one way or the other, but I've always loved Steve Kerr because I'm a Spurs fan and I was a Bull. I was as a kid in the 90s, everybody was a Jordan fan, so I was a Kerr fan then. I'm a Steve Kerr fan now. Much respect to what they do at Golden State. It's very, very, very impressive. All right, we'll take a break right here. When we come back, Ari Temkin, Big 12 Sports Radio on Sirius XM, and of course the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. We'll talk Big 12 with him, and we'll talk Cowboys. This is Sick of 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Father's Day weekend, and Waco Custom Marketplace is ready for you. And you need to be ready to go there because, man, they have so much to offer. The Father's Day Griller Bundle. $60, you get the following: 1 duck fat cooking spray, Meat Church bird brine, Cosmos Buffalo Wing Dust, Meat Church Holy Gospel Seasoning, that is fantastic. 1 Cosmos OPX1 barbecue sauce, and $20 Marketplace gift card. And on top of that, specials this week through tomorrow. Select ribeye steak, choice ribeye steak, prime ribeye steak from $11.99 a pound to $16.99 a pound. Bone-in pork chops, $2.25 a pound. Pork medallions, $4.50 a pound. Ring bologna, the same. Whole chickens, $2.15 a pound. 20% off all fresh shrimp and 10% off all beer and wine. It's a Father's Day special. The Griller Bundle and weekly specials. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store, open until 6 tonight and throughout most of the day tomorrow at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 with $5,000 down, cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details. Step up your ride at Richard Carr's Summer Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month, or a 2017 Buick Encore for $183 a month, or GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. We pay top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience, where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com, call us at 254-753-7675, or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Good buddy of mine, Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio on Sirius XM, and of course Dallas Cowboys Radio Network joins us now. We'll talk Cowboys at the end. Paul Catalina and Garrett Ross. The Smokes are on a Father's Day trip today, so that's why you just get us. But Ari joins us now, and Ari, earlier this week, we got the announcement, official announcement. We all kind of knew it was coming that 2023 will be the 14-team Big 12, and the new schools are in. What's the reaction been like for you and your show, and with all these teams coming in, and the prospect now of this 14-team conference, and the games that could be pretty wild for at least a year?
Yeah, Paul. I mean, there are a lot of moving pieces here, and so you're trying to kind of make sense of all of them, while also recognizing, that in July at Big 12 Media Days next month, and out here in Arlington. We're going to have a new commissioner too. So, we talked with Bob Bowlesby on Big 12 Radio this week, and there's a lot that he said that was really interesting and intriguing in terms of what this conference will look like, decisions that he's making on his way out versus, what the new commissioner will do. But look, I mean, the biggest thing for everybody here is what's this TV deal going to look like? And, when you look at some of the projections that have been out there, many have the Big 12 sliding to fifth in terms of the Power 5 on the scale. And, he basically said he does not believe that is grounded in reality. He said he does not acknowledge the slide from third to fifth in terms of the television money. And, look, he knows he's in these conversations. He's been in these conversations. He has a good idea of the landscape. And so I think, you look at this conference, as you mentioned, it'll go from 10 to 14 teams, and then it could be 14 teams for 2 seasons, or it could be 14 teams for just 1 season, and then go back to 12 after the 2023 season into 2024. Texas and OU are contracted to be in the Big 12 through its rights deal through 2025. So it's either 1 or 2 years of 14 teams with Texas and OU. And Brian Davis of the Austin American Statesman a couple of weeks ago reported that Texas was looking to get out by 2024. So, that still remains to be seen when exactly the exit will be. And so then we can kind of have a better understanding. And, I think from the Big 12's perspective, it's you hold on to Texas and OU as long as you can. And more important than that, though, is beating them and doing exactly what happened last year. Having 2 teams play in the Big 12 championship, like Baylor and Oklahoma State, 2 future members of the conference. We need to continue to prop up the conference through using Texas and Oklahoma to show our dominance.
Ari, speaking of the new Big 12 conference, Big 12 commissioner, do you have anybody in mind, or do you have a preference of who you would like to see take over that role?
It's a great question. I can't give you specific names because I'm just not, I don't know as much as the presidents who are doing this search know. The big talking point would be, do you go with the George Kliavkoff hire, which is sort of the outsider, someone to bring some fresh blood, new eyes to college athletics, or do you go with somebody that's been in college athletics? And, I understand the propensity for everybody within the Big 12. Many of the opinions on this I've heard are they should be somebody accustomed to college athletics. I just think, get somebody that is a really good leader that understands leadership and understands how to lead and keep everybody together on the same page. You also need somebody that's creative, that's going to figure out ways to get creative with television revenue. Wherever the Big 12 is with its next TV deal, it's still going to pale in comparison to what the SEC and the Big 10 are getting. And that's the nature of the beast for the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 moving forward, is how to make up for that very, very large pitfall chasm between, what the SEC and the Big 10 are going to get versus the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the ACC. So somebody that's creative, that can think of new ways to get in front of new audiences, to potentially put together deals that from a television standpoint that, can try to make up for that. So, I'd be fine with an outsider. It's funny because in this brave new world of college athletics, you kind of see so many of the long-time administrators within college athletics struggling to figure out how to evolve into this new world. And so the more I think about that, the more I'm swayed towards more of a George Kliavkoff hire. There's obviously a learning curve there, but there are very good administrators within this conference that will stick around if they so choose, like a Bob Berta, who he's been around college athletics a long, long time. So if you've got somebody that's sort of an outside perspective coming in as a commissioner that has good guidance from folks like a Berta or somebody else that's been in college athletics a long time, I think that's probably the best way to go. But you need new blood. This is you have so many long-time college administrators that are just so married to the old system, and it's many of them, athletic directors, whatever, they think that old world is coming back in some capacity, literally. I know of administrators that believe that that's going to happen. You just need somebody that's forward-thinking, that's not, married to these old guard, old ways of doing things that are on the up and up with what's happening and what's changing about college athletics right now.
Yeah, Ari, I like that you said that, because I think that's the biggest thing that anybody's going to need. Part of the reason that college athletics are stuck in the mud, and look, Jim, I'll just use the example of Jim Delaney in the Big Ten, was a very powerful conference commissioner, but he wasn't going to budge on how he thought things should be, and was going to use all the weight of it, even though the world had probably left him behind already in where it was going. And it's because of guys like that the college athletics was stuck in the mud. They need somebody who's just going to go, why do we do that again? Like, does that make sense in this century? And most of the time when you're talking about the NCAA, the answer is no, it doesn't.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, you have administrators, athletic directors at universities across the country that they're resistant to NIL. And so they're just trying to do things that are, at the bare minimum of what's being required of them and nothing beyond that. And, there's a belief, again, like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do the bare minimum for now because, over the course, these laws will be retracted, or, the rules will be retracted. There's guidelines. You cannot think that way. And it's, as you mentioned, it's basically the way that college athletics has operated for 130 years. So you do need new ideas, new influences, new people walking through the door of the commissioner's office to understand the what's changing and how to stay in front of what's changing. The Big 12 is in a position now to where you need to make certain drastic gambles. And I'm not saying do that with the commissioner, but I'm saying, maybe you go all in with Apple TV and you take your games off of linear television. Apple TV just signed a deal with MLS that's twice as much as the MLS got. There are hundreds of college football games in the Big 12 that are doing significantly more ratings than the best, most highest rated MLS game. So if Apple TV says we'll take all of your games in inventory and we'll pay you 3 times as much as your last television deal, I'm not saying that that's realistic, but I mean, Apple TV has a market cap, and I want to shout out Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic, who did a fantastic piece on this. It's 10 times that of Disney, 10 times the market cap of Disney. So they have the money and the infrastructure, Apple does, to go after and make big bets and investments in sports. They are MLS, baseball. There's obviously rumors that they're going after the Sunday ticket. So, I understand that, moving all of the inventory onto a platform like an Apple TV, Apple Plus, isn't great, in terms of linear television and getting off of ESPN. But these are the kinds of things you have to be thinking about and looking at as you take over. And I think some of the traditional folks, within college athletics aren't thinking that way.
Ari, with the new teams coming in, and obviously Texas and Oklahoma looking to exit when they do, if you're a Big 12 fan, or is there any concern from Big 12 perspective that it could be bad if these new teams face Oklahoma and Texas before they leave and they just get obliterated, or they split the series with the Sooners and the Horns and then they leave the conference like, okay, well, we just blasted everybody y'all brought in. How bad would that look as a whole for the Big 12?
Blasted by Texas?
I know right now that sounds funny. I know. Let's say Oklahoma in general.
No, I mean, look, you're right. It's the idea of using Oklahoma and Texas over the next few years to prop yourself up. It cuts both ways, right? Like, that's a dangerous game to play. Obviously, Baylor wins a Big 12 championship this past year in football, but it had been a long time since anybody not named Oklahoma had won a Big 12 championship, right? So, yeah, no doubt, if Oklahoma continues to win and dominate this league over the next couple of years, regardless of it's the new members or not, like it's basically, it behooves the current members. If Texas and OU are going to be in this conference for the next 3 years, next 3 seasons, one this season and then the next 2 after that with 14 teams, it 100% is imperative for the future viability of this league to show dominance and play for Big 12 championships, and not just roll over and have Texas and Oklahoma, or Oklahoma win this conference. Texas is getting better, and you look at this recruiting class coming in from their offensive line perspective, Pancake Club or not, it's going to be good in a couple of years once these 5-star and 4-star kids along the offensive line become sophomores and juniors, and that's going to be over the next couple of years while they're still in this league. So yeah, I mean, look, 100%. But BYU is going to be really good this year. BYU's been a consistent program. Can't wait for that BYU Baylor game this year. Cincinnati is going to be really good as long as Luke Fickell is there. So at least right now, in the immediate future, it looks like this conference is going to have the firepower to at least show well for itself. But absolutely, I mean, it cuts both ways. It's really important for the Big 12 to be in position to win conference championships, the new Big 12, as opposed to ceding the conference championships to the old Big 12 in Oklahoma and Texas.
Ari, to the Cowboys now. You were at mini camp the one day that they had it, and Mike McCarthy somehow becomes the first guy to have less practice, but somehow be more physical and get fined for it. But whatever that is, it is what it is. He's not the only coach in the league that went through that. But this is a team very much in transition as far as the offensive line goes, wide receiver goes. Experience on the defense. What can you say to Cowboys fans that hope that they can hit at least that 12-win mark that they had last season?
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys seem to do better when the expectations are low, like they seem to be this year. I mean, they have major question marks along their offensive line, and they've got interesting names and good competition. I can't wait to see how this plays out in training camp. I wouldn't feel great if Tyler Biadasz is starting at center from day one. I just don't know that we've seen anything from his first couple of years in the league that indicate that he's your best option at center. Very curious to see, the plan at left guard and left tackle, especially given that, you hope Tyron Smith can play and be available for 17 games, but he just hasn't shown the ability to do that over the last 5 seasons. So, do they then shift Tyler Smith from left guard to left tackle when that happens, or are they going to keep him at left guard? And then the right tackle situation. How set is that with Terrence Steele? So, but all of this, guys, goes back to what happened to Dak Prescott at the end of the season last year. Look, I mean, obviously Dak's a polarizing player for a lot of Cowboy fans. He's been a really prolific quarterback for this team since he's been in the league and has gotten better and better. But he was bad last year, especially at the end of the season, and he was a big reason why they didn't get further in the playoffs, without a doubt. We heard throughout that period that he was not injured. It was not anything like that. But I hope that's the case, quite frankly, because if not, I don't like the alternative, because he was not good. And so you want to attribute that to injury and health. That was the reason he was as bad as he was towards the end of the season last year. So none of the other stuff really matters unless Dak Prescott is playing at the level that he is capable of playing at the beginning of the season last year, when he was first 4 weeks an MVP type candidate. But we saw when he, when he's not as good, that this team's obviously not nearly as good and has a much lower ceiling. I'm really excited to see CeeDee Lamb in the spot that he's at. I think he's going to explode this year. And the two battles to watch for in training camp will be the offensive line and wide receiver groups. I just think there's some interesting battles playing out, and there's open roster spots for undrafted free agents, guys like that Lindstrom from Boston College, and other guys, and then Ty Freifogel is a guy that I've been impressed with, and from what I've seen from rookie camp and mini camps. Obviously, it's hard to take much away, but I think it'll just be interesting. I think there's spots open for some of these undrafted free agents, guys that you wouldn't expect, especially at the offensive line and wide receiver position.
Yeah, but he was hurt last year. He did get hurt. He missed a game. He missed one and then had a bye week. It's reasonable to think that it was lingering. And the other thing is that once Zeke hit the wall, Ari, the Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, and everybody else never really adjusted to the fact that Zeke wasn't 100% either. And of course, the offensive line was bad pretty much the whole time. So all those things seemed to they never really admitted that to themselves until the season was over.
No doubt. And look, I mean, the big thing is Tony Pollard. We kept hearing that, they just don't trust Pollard in pass protection. He's not a 3-down back. And I mean, they're at the point right now where it's like, well, if he's not, then you got to move on. Then because you need a new 3-down back, because that's not Zeke Elliott. It's just unrealistic to expect a guy at this stage of his career with all the wear and tear that he has to be able to play at a high level consistently. And on top of that, you're basically telling the defense what you're doing based on who you have out there, because they know if Pollard's out there, he's going to carry the football, because they don't trust him in pass protection. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing, is it's like they keep saying they don't trust Tony Pollard in pass protection. Is it that they don't trust him, or that they think Zeke's better? Whatever the case is, Pollard has to be your feature back. He's got to be a 3-down guy. If he's not, it's probably time to figure out who that needs to be, because it can't be Zeke Elliott. And, I mean, I hate to say that, but that's just where he is. He's not going to get better at this point in time. He's old and getting older, and there's a lot of wear and tear of that body. So I absolutely agree with you. They completely mishandled the running back situation, and it was exacerbated, obviously, by the offensive line. And, Dak was injured, but they kept saying that he was healthy to play and good to go, and that it wasn't the shoulder, it was that he's fine. And again, I mean, I hope that it was, because otherwise the alternative is really bad, that he's regressed and maybe already hit his ceiling. But it's the same deal. It's a young man's game, and he first 4 years of his career he didn't miss a game, and then obviously he missed the majority of the season. He missed games last year. Like, the older you get, we all see this in our 30s and beyond. The older you get, the harder it is to get out of bed, and the NFL players are no different.
Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio, and of course Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Ari, thanks for hopping on last minute today. Really appreciate it. Always great to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Great talking to you, Paul. Be well.
All right. Ari Temkin, great guy. Love Ari and I have hung out at Super Bowls and stuff before. He's a great guy. Anyway, and you've been on his show. They do great stuff there. All right, when we come back, Landry Locker, 610 Sports Radio in Houston. This is Sickle 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
IdealMRI.com is a fabulous place. First of all, they have great people who work there, technicians, specialists, great partners, Dr. Rob Maxey. IdealMRI.com, located in the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco, just on the southern part of Waco off Highway 35 and the access road to Highway 6. State-of-the-art technology MRI machine. I've had a few things that have, as my age, as my shoulder. Then lately I had some issues with my hip. It ended up being my L3 was narrow, and so I had to get an injection, a steroid injection, to help kind of at least get rid of that nerve issue that was bothering me. IdealMRI.com knew about my pain. I talked to them about my pain, and Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff stayed up late for me to be able to go by. Cheryl and Stephanie were there to do all I needed. And then by the end of the evening, I already knew that my L3 was narrow, that my L5 may have had a pinched nerve. I was able to have the injection the next day. It cost me $400, not $1,100, the national average. IdealMRI.com will find out what hurts you, muscle, ligament, whatever it is. And it's $497 or less every single time at IdealMRI.com.
Jeep Freedom Days are going on now at Allen Samuels in Waco. The new 2022 impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% for 72 months, plus $4,000 competitive bonus cash. That's right, and $4,000 bonus cash. This incentive on the new 2022 Wagoneers for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingram, the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Brad Boozer Jeweler joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks box or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her, and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Landry Locker, 610 Sports Radio in Houston, joins us now. Big college football guy, but does a lot of great work in the NBA and the Rockets, and there's just a great sports radio station down there. So when you're down in Houston, you have a lot of different sports radio stations to pick, but 610 is the one you got to go to because they're the best at what they do. And Landry joins us now. Landry, I want to talk first about Christian Wood and this trade that the Mavs and Rockets made. To me, it seems on the surface that it works out pretty well for both teams because the Rockets, expiring contracts plus the ability to package a couple of picks maybe and move up and get aggressive. But how do you think it's really worked out for both these teams?
No, I think you nailed it. I think this is a rare trade where both teams benefit no matter what happens. It's worth the risk from the Mavs point of view. Because you're not going to sign max guys. So what's a negative about Christian Wood can be a positive for them because you're getting the type of production that they need at a position that they need it at. If you watch them in the playoffs, Dwight Powell and Maxton Kleber at center, you're not going to win with those guys playing center. At least not when you need to, like when they face the Warriors. From a Rockets point of view, you don't want Christian Wood around a rebuilding team. And I was actually, I was told earlier this week, that there were agents of guys expected to be drafted high that just didn't want their guy around Christian Wood in this situation. So the Rockets get out of the Christian Wood business and they go with either Boncaro, Holmgren, or whoever else is there. And that's good. And the Mavericks get a guy who can, give you 20 and 10 any given night. Now he has been on 7 different teams in 7 years. But, maybe a veteran like Jason Kidd helps him out. And the other thing about it is if you go back to when the Rockets acquired Christian Wood, they did it so that he could play with James Harden, who's a ball-dominant guy like Luka. So they didn't bring him in for a rebuild. It turned into a rebuild because James Harden ate and pouted his way out of town. So it's a good situation for Christian. It's a good situation for the Rockets. It's a win-win, and it's a risk worth taking for the Mavs, and maybe speeds up the progression of whoever they select at number 3, and Christian gets another chance, 7 team in 7 years.
Landry, how long do you think it's going to take for the Rockets to finally have all the places in order and in place to go on and get back to a championship caliber team?
Man, it could never happen. Sometimes you just got to get lucky. The Mavs lucked into Luka. I don't want to say lucked in, but I think if they had the draft to do over again, they wouldn't have had the opportunity to get him. So I don't know, because I don't know how good of a coach Steven Silas is, and I don't know how good of a player Jalen Green is. I know that they've done a pretty good job of stockpiling talent, but you've got to hit on those picks in order to be at a championship caliber. You look at the Celtics; they got Tatum and Brown back to back, number 3 overall. So they kind of lucked into that. But and with how bust heavy the draft is and all that, it could never happen. I mean, some teams never find their way back to it. Just like, I mean, you look at the Mavs post 2011. You know, it took over a decade for us to, you know, even entertain the possibility of them getting back to the finals. So I have no idea how long it's going to take. As far as playoffs, I think we're probably a couple years away from even having that discussion. I think they're going to be near the bottom of the league, at least this year and maybe even the year after that.
I forgot about. I guess I'd put it to the back of my mind, the fat James Harden period in Houston, where you look and be like, is that a French fry in his beard? I think it's a French fry in his beard. Yeah, because it's just how it was. But I mean, you said bottom of the league, but they've braced for that for a little while, haven't they? Like they're not trying to sell like, hey, we can fix this in a hurry.
Yeah, they're not selling that, but it will be an interesting thing to look at. Just how if they do have another year like they have the last two, how the owner Tillman Fertitta handles it. His son has kind of been working, shoulder to shoulder with Rafael Stone, who's the GM here. But Tillman Fertitta's not a very patient guy. You don't become as successful as he has and have all the restaurants and run businesses the way he does by wanting to, be in last place. Now, he's not willing to pay the money like a lot of owners are, the luxury tax, etc. But I don't know how patient he's going to be if they have another year like that. Although in a strange way, it might be more productive because you look at the top of the upcoming draft. It's going to be as impressive. Not this one, the one a year from now. It's going to be as impressive at the top as we've seen in a long time. Another kid from France, supposed to be one of the best prospects for the last 10 years. So I guess the basketball guys are patient, but I don't know how much longer the owner, who inherited a team that was in the Western Conference Finals going toe-to-toe with the Warriors, how much more patient he's going to be able to be. It'll be interesting to see.
Landry, what's the pulse around the city regarding being able to host the FIFA World Cup?
A lot of excitement. My co-host, John Lopez, actually called it one of the best days in the history of Houston sports. He's a little bit dramatic sometimes. I'm not really a soccer guy, but I do understand like the appreciation of it. I know there was a lot of effort put into it. Chris Canetti, who is a very well-respected guy who helped get a few sports organizations off the ground here, including the Dynamo. It was been his full-time job the last 3 years. So there were a lot of resources and efforts put into it. And there does seem to be a lot of excitement for it. I'm excited for it, but there is a real high excitement level. And when a guy who's been covering sports here for 4 decades says it's
Hold on, let me do a little housekeeping here. Hey, Landry, we lost you a second. Hello. Let me try. No. All right, well, let's talk amongst ourselves while I call him back real quick.
I was thinking about that because Houston's such a proud city, and granted, they've been given the Texans are hit and miss. They've obviously had a lot of turmoil. The Rockets, I mean, they're going through another rebuilding process. You got rid of one of your best players. It's like they really needed some positive reinforcement for that city.
Landry, you back? We lost you.
7.
Nope. See, this is what happens when I have to call a guest on the air. All right, let's try one more time. Hey, Landry, you back?
Voice message system.
All right. Hey, Jack, can you just come and take over this for me? There. All right. But yeah, no, they do. They need some juice. So yeah, they need some juice a little bit there, but yeah. All right. Jack, we got him? All right, Landry, there we go. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. When you do 2 cell phones, you never can trust it. But yeah, it is a great thing for Houston. I wanted to get to about Houston joining the Big 12. That Houston, the city, is now a Big 12 town. You're a big time Big 12 guy yourself. How does that juice flowing in the city of Houston now that they're coming in 2023?
It's interesting, because there's excitement obviously because you want to get in the Big 12, but is it really the Big 12 when Texas and Oklahoma are leaving? I do wonder, like, what is going to what the landscape is going to look like. Could we see it transforming from a basketball perspective? I know it's going to be really nice from a football perspective. I don't know what exactly to expect, and where the Big 12 is going to stack up on, as far as Power 5 conferences and where it's going to be. But there is a lot of excitement getting in there, and I know it's been a lot of excitement for you guys with the dominant stretch that you've had. But it's exciting, but there's a little bit of anxiousness as well, and we don't know, is Texas and Oklahoma still going to be in? Are we going to see them throw some money out there? Excitement, but uncertainty would be the way to describe it.
I think one of the key topics on the show the other day regarding this is Texas being able to play Houston. And if that game takes place, do you want to see, general consensus, I think everybody who's a Houston fan wants to see Texas go to Houston and play the Cougars, right?
Yeah, there just needs to be, that's the good thing about it, is right now in the American Conference, like, there's really nothing to look, you can look forward to games, but there's really just the environment. You got teams coming here that don't really, they don't travel very well. There's not as much, like, regional rivalries and stuff. So even like Baylor, even Oklahoma State, even like TCU, it'll be good to see those teams every year just because there is some sort of history and there is some sort of ties. But of course, you always want Texas or Oklahoma to come to your arena, but it'll just be nice, or to your stadium, wherever. It'll just be nice to have like some sort of like regional excitement with the games that come here, because it just really hasn't existed that much in the American.
Landry, how do you see the conference shaking out this year with Texas gets Quinn Ewers? They had a great recruiting class in the offensive line, but I think it'd be kind of foolish to think that that's going to change everything right away, and that's still probably their biggest weakness along the fronts, but their skill positions look pretty unbelievable. And if Quinn Ewers is the guy that everybody thinks that he is, Steve Sarkisian could maybe take less Advil this year after games.
Yeah, my goodness, and maybe not gain 30 pounds during the season too. I kid, kinda. But I think the offense is going to be good. I think the freshmen are going to have to learn how to block, and they're also going to have to figure out how to get on the same page. But from the skill position standpoint, I can't remember it being this good in a long time, at least on paper. You have one of the best running backs in the country. You probably have one of the best receivers in the country in Worthy. I actually thought Stark schematically did a good job calling games last year. There were just a lot of throws missed, and you just didn't have the talent at the quarterback position, and you weren't blocking anyone. I think Texas is going to be competing to get into the Big 12 championship. I think there could be somewhat of a jump, like you saw from Aranda year 1 to year 2, but it is going to come down to the kids being able to block. And Ewers, I think Ewers can spin it. I could see Ewers being, already one of the better quarterbacks in the country. And I think the receivers, from Worthy down are as good as they've been in a long time. And there's a lot of speed there. So I think they'll compete near the top of the Big 12. But let's be honest. How many times has that been said in the last 10, 12 years? And, there was a disappointment, but I think this time Texas, I'm not going to say they're back or anything like that, but I do think they'll be competing near the top of the conference. I don't feel as good about OU though. I'm very down on Oklahoma, more so than I've been in a long time. That's really what I'm very intrigued to see, is what Oklahoma looks like without Lincoln Riley, with all the guys they lost, with Brent Venables. It's really a wide open conference. It's going to be a very, very fun conference to watch.
Landry, you spent time in Texas Tech and out in Lubbock area. What are your overall thoughts on Joey McGuire, and really in particular the recruiting class he's been able to put together? When you talk about Texas Tech recruiting, forever it's been you can't get kids to West Texas, you can't get guys to Lubbock. Well, he's having a hell of a job with it.
Yeah, and I really respect Coach McGuire, and just the way that he carries himself, the way that he seems to respect what college football is in the state. We talk about all the NIL and stuff like that, and I think guys like Coach McGuire can actually benefit from the NIL. I don't think they're going to be like giving away obviously they're not going to be giving away Lamborghinis and $1 million endorsements and all that type of stuff, but it does just seem like the true college athlete that just wants to go out there, have a coach who, parents feel comfortable sending their son to. He has good relationships. He knows how to coach ball, all that type of stuff. I think guys like that, in a strange way, are actually going to benefit from NIL because it just seems like a real pure, like, old school-ish kind of vibe. I'm pulling for him. It will be interesting to see, what it looks like on game day. But I pull for guys like that, and I think guys like that can actually thrive with the NIL because there'll still be NIL opportunities, but there's just more of like an authentic feel for coaches like that.
Landry, okay, right now, if you had to pick the Big 12 champion, who would it be?
Gosh, I'm going to say this, and it's going to look really silly. I'm going to pick Texas as the Big 12 champion, and it has as much to do with what everyone else has lost as opposed to just how good I feel about Texas. I think when you're Oklahoma, lose Lincoln Riley.
Check him again there, Jack. He's got my phone.
Hot take with Texas.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Let's try to get him back just so we can finish that thought. And then, because I want to. All right. Hold on. Coming through the air to you, buddy. All right. Landry.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, finish your thought on Texas. And then we can let you go and we can charge both of our phones.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to go with Texas just because I think a lot of teams lost a lot of stuff. I think Oklahoma. I think Britt Venables is going to be a bad coach at Oklahoma. I just don't. I'm not feeling Venables as much as a lot of people at Oklahoma are. I didn't even know that they disliked Lincoln Riley till after he left. And I talked to OU people on the reg. I'm going to go with Texas just because I think a lot of teams lost a lot of stuff, including Baylor. They lost Petrie. They got some stuff to replace. So I'm going to go with Texas, and it's going to be and in large part it's because of what we saw with Baylor last year and the leap that Aranda made. I think that Steve Sarkisian makes a similar leap, centered around the offense and a couple key pieces on defense, little bend don't break defense. So I'm going to go Texas. I'm going to go Sark. Improvement from year 1 to year 2, just like Aranda.
All right, Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610 in Houston. Landry, always great to talk to you, buddy, and we'll have you on again soon.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, Landry Locker. Grayson Grundhafer comes up next. We'll talk recruiting. Both of us need to probably charge our phones. I don't know what's going on there, but hey, look, that's how it works. Not every day do you get to see a cell phone flying through the air on camera. I think that was cool. I'm pretty sure the people loved it. So
I don't think it was on camera.
I mean, I caught it on camera, so but you didn't see the cell phone?
I thought I had graphics up the whole time.
Oh, okay. Dang. I wanted people to see my sweet hands.
Get you an NIL deal?
Yeah, it's about time. Listen, I can promote. Look, I can promise you this. Of the recruits out there that are going to get all this NIL money, if it's about promoting your product, I can do it better than most of them can because they're just high school kids.
True. Maybe you can be like a consultant, create your own firm.
Exactly. I need to do that. So anyway, all right. We'll take a break right here. We'll come back. Grayson Grundhafer, SicEm365.com. Garrett, big recruiting weekend.
Big recruiting
weekend. Once again for Baylor. This is Sick of 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
If you haven't seen the 2022, the impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 vehicles, you're missing out. You ought to just go to Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat on Loop 340 in Waco. Just get in it, test drive it. Just test drive. They're beautiful. They're magnificent. The Wagoneer Series 2 and 3, 2.9% financing for 72 months plus $4,000 in competitive bonus cash. $4,000 in bonus cash. The 2022 Wagoneers, limited time only at Alan Samuels. First responders get an extra $500 in extra bonus cash. And these vehicles are spectacular. And the 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab, June special value up to $7,000 or get a $4,000 bonus cash, 2.9% financing for 72 months. Ram trucks designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. Ram trucks, the Wagoneer series, beautiful vehicles, SUVs, and more. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Welcome back, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com here. Taylor McHargue in the next segment, the 5 o'clock hour, the AD replay. Again, another reason I could do NIL, because I named it the AD replay, because stuff that rhymes sells. Bottom line. If I teach you anything about marketing, if you can rhyme it and make people able to remember it, that's a winner right there.
I like it.
See, that's Grayson knows this. If you can rhyme it, bottom line, it's going to sell. But you can't rhyme anything with Grundhafer, really. So he's going to have to keep climbing that mountain for a while until he figures it out. But Grayson, big recruiting weekend for Baylor again this week. You're going to be up here all day tomorrow. Visits and all that. How have you seen? I know that they picked up some recruits this week. They lost a recruit this week. How has it gone so far? If you had to grade, is everything kind of going according to plan right now?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of an interesting week. And, I mean, obviously the first weekend was definitely a success. I mean, they got 2 commitments from guys who were on that first official visit trip in Trent Thomas and Corey Kelly. And then, of course, they kind of got not necessarily a surprise commitment, but a commitment that was, I guess, a little earlier than to be expected because Wes Tucker was just at Baylor camp, decided to commit, even though his official visit is actually this weekend. He's there now. So those 3 commits, they lost a commitment from Javion Wilcox, the safety out of Lake Belton. And then he actually flipped his commitment immediately to TCU. So not necessarily like that was surprising. He took an official visit there, but more surprising because of how long he had been committed to the Baylor program. So overall, I think they're in a really good spot. I would probably give it a B+, and it's leaning towards an A because there is another guy out there who I feel like could potentially be close to committing, but he's going to take his time a little bit. So if that one were to happen this week, probably would have been an A for me. So they did some really, really good things on the recruiting trail after official visit weekend number 1.
Grayson, coming in, obviously you get the commit last week from Wes Tucker along the offensive line, but one key target that's going to be in the town this weekend is Isaiah Robinson, the offensive lineman from Arlington Lamar. What does Baylor need to do to what do you think they need to do this weekend to leave the right impression on him and hopefully see if he can leave Waco with a commit?
Yeah, I mean, so he's a guy who obviously has a bunch of really good offers. And I talked to him earlier this week, and he mentioned LSU, Auburn, Oklahoma State, and Texas A&M are kind of 4 schools who are really vying for his final 3 official visits. So far, Cal got one last week, and then Baylor's got one this week. So he's got 3 more left. And those final 3 are pretty much going to make up his final 5 schools. And an interesting thing that he told me was that Howard might actually end up getting an official visit for him. So there's a lot of schools contending there. But if Howard takes one and then there's only 2 spots left, I mean, Baylor's got to feel really good about their chances to land Isaiah Robinson. But, one thing I would say about him is he's not your typical recruit. He's really looking for a theater program that's going to maximize his potential. He's big into theater arts. And so that's why some of these schools have really remained big contenders for him, especially Cal and Howard. So I think Baylor's going to have to figure out a way to bridge that gap. I know they have a music school, and I know, when I was there, they had all kinds of plays and guerrilla troupe and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully they're able to sell that to him. So yeah, that's kind of the area I would say, he's got a great relationship with Eric Mateos, and he's a top 250 prospect in the nation, a 4-star guy. So obviously he'd be a nice get at the tackle position.
Grayson, this weekend, who do you think the biggest key is that they make an impression or maybe even get a commitment from?
Actually, guys, I don't even think that it's a guy that's not committed. I mean, I think the headline is Austin Novosad, right? I mean, this is one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country. He's committed, but he took that official visit to Ohio State. So, it's kind of up in the air. And they really need to show him and continue to show him that Baylor's the place for him. So he would actually be the one that I would go to that, they need to continue making that impression. But if we're going to go to a guy who maybe isn't committed to Baylor, I think I would kind of look at Franklin running back / athlete Bryson Washington. And the reason I say him is because he committed to SMU 5 days ago after his official visit there and then decided to take an official visit to Baylor. So it's just an interesting situation. Usually you don't see flips happen that quickly. So I think for Baylor's then, they really got to go in there and show him that he's a priority because he's been a guy who's been on their radar since 2020, but they were looking at him as a safety back then. And now as time has gone on, they didn't offer. They took their time, waited and waited. And then they finally decided, you know what, maybe this guy can play running back at the next level. And they finally offered just a couple weeks ago. So he's a guy that I would definitely keep an eye on. I think he fits their scheme really well, especially if he lands at running back, which I think he would at Baylor.
How important, though, is it to impress the guys like, Jaron Woods or Brendan Bett, some of those defensive linemen who are going to be on campus as well Saturday?
Yeah, massive. I mean, they really got to start making more of a dent on the defensive line. And they were able to pick up a commitment from Trent Thomas, the defensive lineman out of Fort Bend Marshall. But he's a completely different type of player than the other guys that they're recruiting, because he's only 237 pounds. And, that's solid weight, but Baylor does need some guys that are a little bit heavier, a little bit more ready to come in and play right away. And when you look at a guy like Brendan Bett, for instance, I mean, he's lost weight to get down to around like 272, which he's at now, 6'5", 272. But he's a guy who can easily get to, 280, 285 and play pretty early. So that's a big one. Also, he's in the Central Texas area, so that would also be a big get for them in that regard. And then Jaron Woods is actually a guy who I think is one of my favorite defensive line prospects that Baylor's offered. And the reason for it is, I mean, if you just go look at his film, the guy looks like he's got a +8 wingspan. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He looks so raw on film, but you can see the clear upside in the ceiling there with his frame and everything that he could bring to the table. It's kind of like he's a Gabe Hall light. He's not as tall as Gabe is, but he's got that same kind of rawness to him that you feel like, oh man, that could definitely translate to the collegiate level really, really well. So Woods is definitely a guy, they also want to make an impression on. And, you kind of mentioned it. Defensive line's an area that they haven't had a ton of success with quite yet, but I expect that to turn really quickly. And after the first official round of visits, getting Trent Thomas, and then I feel like they're in a great position with Ridgepoint defensive tackle DK Kalu as well. So they're making up some ground, but you're right. They need to continue momentum in that direction.
I'll play devil's advocate. Let's say all hell breaks loose. Novosad does not come to Baylor. Where do they turn in that situation? Who are some of the 2023 names as a backup plan, or maybe a 2024 guy that people should keep an eye on in case everything hits the fan?
Oh man, I don't even. That would just be. That would just be really, really terrible, wouldn't it? They've invested so much into Austin that it's really hard to imagine, them having to do a complete overhaul and figure out what they're going to do at the quarterback position. So I think the first thing I would say is if they don't land Austin, I think it's pretty clear that they're going to have to take a transfer next spring. I just don't see any way they avoid that, because I think any quarterback you take at this point is going to be a project. Is going to be a guy that's going to take some time. I'll give you one name that's kind of come on my radar, honestly, recently, probably in the last, month or so. But Cade Tessier out of Lake Creek High School in Montgomery, he's an interesting one. When I turn on his film, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Colin Klein. And I'm not saying that's great. Colin wasn't the most accurate thrower, but the guy was a winner. The guy made a lot of throws, won a lot of games in college. So he's the guy that I would look at. I think that you'd probably go out of state and go look at Ricky Collins, the Purdue commit. I think he'd be another guy who I would kind of just test the waters a little bit with. I know, it's just hard, guys, because Baylor doesn't really have a great relationship with any of these quarterbacks because they've put all their time into Austin. And so that makes it really tough, right, when you're trying to figure out where they would go next. I know, they had a relationship with Jake Strong, who's committed at Texas Tech right now, so maybe they try to turn around and go, talk to him more. But I think the odds of that are probably pretty low since they take the Austin over him initially. It would just be kind of a mess. And to be honest, I think the only sure thing is they would likely take a transfer.
Yeah, Grayson, that's kind of the world we're living in right now, though, because you can't really, get out over your skis on quarterbacks because, if you signed 2 in one class now, you're promising that whoever is far behind is gone before they've seen the field for you, even if they're ready or not. So it's such a dicey proposition. You can't really go, there used to be times where you could sign 2 quarterbacks in a class and let them battle it out and see what happens. But that's not really the case anymore.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I mean, it's even gone further away from that for Baylor. I mean, they didn't even take a quarterback in the 2022 class. So it's more like going away from taking, any quarterback in a class, because you're like, okay, we'll invest all our time in this one quarterback that we think can be great. And if it doesn't work out for us, we've invested all this time, then you know what? We'll just try to find a transfer, someone who can come in and supplement for depth. And, that would be a really unfortunate situation. I don't believe that's going to happen. I do think as of right now that Austin is going to end up, sticking to his Baylor commitment, going to the Elite 11, wearing all kinds of Baylor gear, putting on a show, ending up being a top, 6, top 5 type quarterback prospect in the nation, and then signing with Baylor and enrolling in January.
Grayson, we've talked about the camps in general, the numbers, and really some of the differences between how Aranda goes about doing his camps compared to what Rule and them did. But I believe that's the 25th. This camp is already sold out. What does that say about the trajectory of the camps and the development of them under Aranda and his staff?
Yeah, it's huge. And when I was at the camp this past Saturday, I heard that, the numbers are getting closer to 2019. Being closer to where they were that last year when Rule was there, when, they had been in the Big 12 championship, they went to a Sugar Bowl, had a lot of momentum. Baylor's numbers are getting much closer to that point. And I think that's really exciting, right? Because it shows that a lot of prospects are having interest in Baylor. And that's big, right? Because you need to be able to showcase these camps to all kinds of students from all over the state of Texas and even outside the state of Texas. So, it's massive. You want schools like, throughout the state, the big schools, they're really good at football every single year. Duncanville, DeSoto, you want these type of schools to bring, 7, 8 guys to a camp and just allow them to experience Baylor, because in the long run, that really helps you down the line in recruiting, and it helps you build those relationships even more than when the coaches are out on the road. So, yeah, it's huge, and I do think that you're starting to see a trend there. And I think as Baylor continues to have success on the field, it will help their camp turnout and in return help their recruiting in general.
Why has Dave Aranda been able, is it because he was at LSU and Wisconsin before, been able to get in with more 5 stars and 4 stars without, this year, notwithstanding, right from the jump, he was already doing that. Then because Matt Rule and Art Briles both kind of had to prove that you could win at Baylor, and then he got to maybe combine those two things together, that he'd won a national championship recently and you can win at Baylor. It doesn't really matter who you are if you do it right.
Yeah, I would say that Rule getting to a Sugar Bowl in 2019 definitely put Baylor kind of back on the map as far as winning games. And then I think 2020 happened, and it was kind of forgivable, especially since, the next year Aranda gets them back to a Sugar Bowl. So, 2 Sugar Bowls in the last 3 years, I think that says something about the Baylor program, and I think it shows that, they're really competitive in the Big 12 and nationally. They're very, very competitive as well. So I think all of that has helped Aranda get to this point. And then, like you said, I think that, I think the thing that he brought from LSU and Wisconsin was just the organization of the recruiting department. And I think that's really helped him, come to Baylor and figure out what he likes and doesn't like as a head coach, and then be able to assemble a really good recruiting department mixed with coaches who love to recruit as well. And I think that combination can really help things. And I think it has so far. Now, there's still work to do. If you look at this 2023 class, there's still a lot of work to do, especially on the defensive line and then the secondary. So there's still things they need to prove before they start landing, every single 4-star they start offering. They've had misses. But in general, I think they've done a really nice job with their evaluations and a really nice job building relationships.
Do you think recruiting has gotten harder at Baylor? Like, I was thinking about this earlier because I'd had the article out about LeVar, and a lot of the fans were going in saying I put a curse on him because Baylor was the first offer. But in years past, it was like if Baylor offered somebody, a lot of bigger schools weren't really going to dial in on that recruit. They were kind of back off and, Baylor's got him. We don't need to worry about it. But now, if Baylor jumps out on somebody, we've seen that it's more than likely a player who's going to be able to be developed, be able to be coached properly, and go on to have success. So has that made things a little more difficult for Aranda and the staff to navigate, saying, okay, we've identified a prospect, we've sent the offer out, but now we got to hold off all these other big-name brand schools who might be coming after him?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I do feel like Baylor's kind of been in that situation for a while now. Because I even think with Rule, you had those few schools, specifically, it was Arkansas and Texas Tech, and there was that running joke that every time Baylor sent out an offer, those staffs were just immediately hitting send, to send out another offer because it felt like they were happening immediately after Baylor offered. But nowadays, it is still similar. It's still happening to Baylor. And, it's interesting, though, because I think it just shows Baylor's finding prospects or finding really talented prospects and guys who fit, pretty much any culture of a program, which is big as well. And, you kind of look around at their class and you see a guy like Austin Novosad, for instance, where his first offer was Baylor. And now he's really blown up. And, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and everyone is kicking themselves that they didn't offer them sooner. Because Austin went to all these camps, went and visited all these schools, and left without a bunch of offers, whereas Baylor offered right when he came to a camp. So he's one, and, there's others. And I do believe that, it's one of those things that Baylor has to battle a little bit, and that's also why they got to be a little choosy on the guys that they do offer, because it's like, is it worth offering this guy if he already has, a million offers? Mm-hmm. And while they've shown at times to not care about that, I also think at times they kind of have to be selective in that process. And that also goes with offering guys early. You want to make sure that you're offering a guy that you really, really want and not just offering a guy to get ahead of everyone else, because a lot of times that doesn't work out very well.
Grayson Grundhafer, SicEm365.com. Grayson, drive safe up here early tomorrow morning, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Follow Grayson's stuff on SicEm365.com. If you're not a premium member, then you be a premium member.
Got to be.
We've got specials all the time. So
yeah.
There's always something. So you get to read Garrett's stuff, and then you give Jack more work to do. It's all things that are good.
Jack appreciates more work.
So he does. Jack believes idle hands to the devil's workshop. He said, look, I don't want to take time off. I don't need to go to the bathroom during the show. I don't need to drink water. I just need to work. That's what I need to do. That was his words, not mine.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah, his words. I'm not making it up. I don't need to go outside. If you just feed me and give me enough water to subsist as a human being.
Yeah, feed me, Paul.
Yeah.
Feed me.
Yeah. You got to,
be nice. Be like Smokey.
Yeah.
Be generous.
Give
me
Jack.
food.
Yeah. I don't feel the need to buy your affection. I'm just saying.
Yeah. We're all good.
Yeah. I bought you guys food last week when we were.
You did.
And I roped in some pizza from Shorty's. So it was all good. It was good when we were here. Garrett and I helping Jack while he labored. Pretty much. Yeah. You can't really. Jack, can you show the wide view of the studio for a second? So if you see the wide view, we've got some stuff going on in here. Now, we were off for a couple of days for remodeling. And if you look, it doesn't look like anything was ever really done because it looks the same aesthetically to you as it did before. We didn't take anything off the walls or anything like that. Now, there'll be some shelves back behind us here coming up soon. We're working on that. But we had a lot of stuff run technically in the studio that was either redundant or pointless. Now that we've got some new equipment in here. So that's what we did. We took all that out. So it's a lot cleaner and smoother and easier to navigate in here. We have cameras mounted on the wall now and all that. So you see what we're doing in here. And there'll be some things that change over time. So, but that's why we weren't doing shows early last week. So you get kind of an idea what the studio looks like all together. By the way, College World Series, the first game, A&M was getting clobbered by Oklahoma, and now it's somewhat reasonable at 12-8, top of the eighth, runner on second, and one out. So
I'm confused. So I thought coming into this with the new stadium, we were supposed to see less home runs. And, dude, they're flying out of the ballpark.
Well, I don't know how the wind's blowing there, and they called it they used to call it the gorilla ball era where everybody hit home runs. And, you think back to guys like back in the early 80s, Pete Incaviglia hit like 1 billion home runs at Oklahoma State. Of course, Oklahoma State had that left field porch that was like 300 feet exactly.
Right.
Like that was it. And it, wind's blowing and still water all the time. So, but yeah, today, we're supposed to be kind of in the dead bad era of college baseball, but that's not really happening today, at least 12-8. Texas and Notre Dame are up next, hopefully feature Florida State coach Link Jarrett.
This has got to be. I mean, it has to be, right?
It has to. I mean, like, they haven't. The fact that, like, he's still coaching and they haven't named a coach tells me that they pretty much think it's going to be him.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've watched them step on their own tail many times when it comes to hires in the past. So, but I refuse to speak ill of Willie Taggart. Although the people that hired him were gone. But I just, you know, I'm beaten down, Garrett. I'm just beaten down.
I mean, look, it's a proud history. It's a very proud program.
But I got to, you know, I feel like now, you ever seen like a movie that like takes place in like a post-apocalyptic wasteland?
Right, yeah.
And there's like an old guy who's telling them about like what things used to be like. That's how I feel talking about FSU before in the good times.
I could see that.
That's what I feel like. It's like, gather around. Let me tell you what it was like before the robots took over. There used to be streams and trees and
all sorts
sunshine.
of fun things.
Yeah, no. Now it's just a wasteland. So, anyway, when we come back, former Rice quarterback Taylor McHargue. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
inside the 15. With Bryce Young. Young is going to take off running. Bryce Young, touchdown, Alabama. Does it with his arms, and now he does it with his legs.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's Paul Catalina.
In case you're wondering, you're watching on YouTube and you're like, hey, where are the two people named Smoak? They took a Father's Day trip. So Garrett Ross sitting in with me today. And, our usual producer, Jack McKenzie, back behind the board, and he's not bitter about it at all. Not in the slightest. He hasn't complained for more than 7 or 12 minutes today about it. But Taylor McHargue, former Rice quarterback, college football analyst, joins us now. And Taylor, our mutual friend Jason Minix kind of set this up. I'm really excited about it. And to get to talk to you, it's kind of weird. We had, and we're going to replay that interview today. Rice AD Joe Karlgaard was on our show on Wednesday, and here we are with a former Rice. But we're going heavy Rice this week on 365 Sports.
I love it. Can't get enough of the Owls, it sounds like, but we'll take any publicity the Owls can get these days. We'll take it.
Well, look, let's start with that. Look, college football realignment, happened last year, and Rice got swept up, caught up in it. I mean, it's really good for them as they move into the AAC now, and it's one of the things we talked about earlier this week. But for you as an alum and someone who you curious about the future of Rice football, Rice athletics, how do you feel about that move and where Rice sits looking into the future because of their very unique academic status and where they sit geographically in Houston?
Yeah, I think I looked at a lot of the reaction to once Rice got added and a few of the other schools that came with them and part of that package of 6 that's going to the new AAC. When I was getting recruited, I was at Rice from 2009 through 13, and what the American is now, for all intents and purposes, is what CUSA was back then, with the exception really of Houston and Central Florida, who were in Conference USA at the time. But the teams that Rice is now back in the same conference with, you think about like a Tulane and SMU. These were the schools, in Memphis, East Carolina. These were the schools that we recruited against and we played against. And in a lot of ways, that felt like really the peers that we should be playing against. The days of the Southwest Conference for some of your older Baylor fans that were around and remember when Rice was competing year in and year out, we're a long way from that. And I think this, with conference realignment, obviously the Texas and the OUs, those are going to grab the headlines. But the realignment to schools like Rice and to schools like UTSA, this was a huge move for them because Conference USA at one point, if you go back and look at the 2005, 2009 type Conference USA, there were some really good football teams and some really good programs, but over time it's really deteriorated. And so this was big for Rice to get out and get back to competing against, again, schools like SMU that really I would say are our peers.
Another good opportunity this provides is you're bringing on North Texas, you're bringing on UTSA. When you look at those two programs, do you see a rivalry, or would you like to start a rivalry with one of them?
I think there certainly is with both of them. When I was playing, UTSA had just got on the radar and was playing at the FBS level. But over time, obviously with last season having the year that they did, they've established themselves as a contender at the G5 level. And both of these programs, what you like to see, and a big reason why they joined the American, was they committed to the capital required, the money required to compete at a high level in football. And that's what you need. And that's what, frankly, from my alma mater, I'm pleased with, is they've done the same. For a long time, a big reason why Rice didn't get brought into the new American back in 2011 was Rice hadn't committed the money needed in facilities. And over time, that's one of the things Joe Karlgaard's done a great job in his tenure, is he's really focused on upgrading the facilities. And they finally got a new end zone complex at Rice right after I left in football. And so things like that. UTSA is doing the same thing. North Texas has a beautiful new facility that's, I think 8 or 9 years old now, but it's still brand new and in great shape. those are the things that you have to have those commitments if you want to compete in a conference like the American.
Taylor, what do you think about the current state of college athletics? As a guy who played the game, I mean, NIL is there now and probably long overdue. The conference realignment, the possibility of an expanded playoff. What is a former player do you look at and say, man, I wish this was going on now, and I hope they get it fixed soon?
Yeah, it goes in a million directions, and my initial reaction to NIL was, this is a positive thing. I mean, capping what kids can make and saying that your scholarship was the max of your value, well, that was just silly. And I think back to Robert Griffin, who we played against. There's no way Robert Griffin should have been capped by just his scholarship, or a Johnny Football or a Tebow. We can throw out all the examples. Kids should be able to make additional compensation outside of just their scholarship. I think right now we're in a dangerous spot because there's no guardrails. There's no format. The NCAA was so inept in its leadership getting to this point that we now have just pulled our hand off and it's a free-for-all. And I have no problem. Again, I'm a huge proponent of let's get these kids paid. Let's get them what they've earned. My biggest complaint right now, though, is the free-for-all in what really is free agency and the transfer portal. I think there's got to be some level of commitment to the school that's recruited you, and it doesn't have to be for that long, even if it's just for a calendar year or for a school year, rather. But I look at the top wide receiver for Pitt that's now transferred to USC, a situation like that where that's really difficult for these schools, and that trickle down, I mean, that goes all the way down to the FCS level where your best player, Cameron Ward at UIW, now the quarterback for Washington State, that's happening all over the country. That piece, I think, is really dangerous because there's nowhere else that's the case, where it's just full free agency all the time. As soon as you want to transfer, you can leave and go wherever you want. That's incredibly difficult on schools. And I think at a macro level, you've seen some of the older coaches that have just decided to get out of the game because it's a nightmare recruiting right now. It's nonstop. It's constant. And now you're having to deal with NIL and, again, there's a ton to unpack. You could spend hours talking about just this one topic, but I just want to see some guardrails around it. Let's figure out how to rein this in a little bit.
Yeah, and Taylor, I think a lot of times when people say that, we said it on this show a lot of times, people are like, oh my gosh, they're against the new freedom. Like, no. I mean, freedom is great, but there's got to be, like you said, guardrails, because now, I mean, if you're Georgia, you can go pluck a guy out of a team, like USC plucked a guy from Pitt, although Pitt was better than USC last year, and their status has changed with the new coach. But I mean, if you're Georgia, you could just go to a middle-tier team in your own conference and be like, you know what, don't go to Tennessee. I mean, Alabama's taking guys from Georgia and Ohio State. They just take them, but then, it goes down. Then, okay, well, this team can go to the next level, the next level, and then, Rice can be in a position where, man, we really like our quarterback, and we got a good defense end and running back, and then all of a sudden all three of them are going to different places because they're like, well, heck, I didn't have this opportunity before to play up a level, and I'm going to do it. And then they're going down to the FCS and taking, Stephen F. Austin's quarterback, and it's all this kind of vicious cycle.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I had a game I called one of, if you remember the FCS in 2020, their season got pushed, and so they played a spring season. We had one of Sam Houston State's games in the year they won the national championship, and we had a call with Coach Keeler, and I asked him, what are the challenges in playing in the spring? And I'm expecting him to talk something specific to it being in the opposite side of the year, but he talked about this. He said, we're playing at a time when nobody else is playing, and we know that these FBS programs are scouting our kids, and they have a chance to watch us right now. And I'm really worried about, once the season is over, through any number of ways, our kids get approached and we lose some of our better talent. And that's not something that I had really spent any time thinking about. And it's absolutely the case across the board, except, take out the blue bloods of the world. Everybody underneath that level is experiencing this. And I'm right there with you. I hate that you can't criticize NIL at all right now, because then it becomes, well, you don't want these kids to get paid. No, that's not it. This just can't be the free-for-all that it is right now.
Taylor, speaking of recruiting, I found this intriguing. I was going on Twitter earlier, and I found your letter from Tulsa. Talk about the story talk about the story behind that. And was that a situation in your life where you used that as like a springboard for motivation, or how did you handle that situation?
I did, because I was recruiting was a little bit different for me. I played for a really terrible high school. We didn't win a lot, and I got all my offers late, but I had some Big 12 offers. I felt like I had a decent number of offers, and that was the only school that sent my tape back like that and said, you're not good enough to play at this level. When I had several offers in their conference at the time, it was a bizarre thing to get at the time, and it did stick with me. I mean, there's all sorts of things when you're going through recruiting, especially when you're 16, 17 years old. There's all the ebbs and flows of the emotion. You just don't really expect something like that. But I will say the feedback and reaction I got from putting that out there was how many people either sent me a private message or texted me that said, that doesn't surprise me at all that Todd Graham's staff would do something like that. So it is what it is. And I did keep that as a piece of motivation, and I really never did forget it. I got all of my mail from recruiting back this week from my mom, who'd been holding it for years, and that was the first letter on top. So back when I was 18, I guess it was top of mind then as well.
Taylor, I like to ask this of former college athletes now, because you see, guys getting Lamborghinis like Bijan Robinson. What would have been on brand for you at Rice if somebody came to you and said, we would like you to endorse our product?
Oh my gosh. I've thought about this, and I really have no idea. I do know I would not have been a very good steward of that money. I'm certain of that. It would have been something frivolous. Honestly, probably would have ended up at the Galleria one too many times buying stuff I just didn't need. But in all seriousness, I do think there were times where we had kids that were some of our better players that didn't come from a lot that would have had the opportunity, even at a place like Rice. Because when we were there, won 10 games, won our conference, there would have been kids on our team that would have had NIL deals, and it would have been great for them. And that's the piece that I like in the spirit of NIL that it's designed for. And there's a lot of anytime you're changing kids' lives in college, there's a lot of kids that they will make more in college on NIL deals than they will in the NFL, because not that many guys make very much money in the NFL. Most of them don't make it at all. And if they do, they're only there for a year or two. So for me, I have no idea what it would have been. But I know I would have blown it all.
Taylor, I'm looking at the schedule. Rice is going to open the season at USC. And I was thinking from a player's perspective, as somebody who plays for schools like Rice, or even we've mentioned SFA, the smaller schools who are thrown in a situation where you got to go out, you got to play a Power 5 school. We know the money's there. But what is the mindset of a player going into a game knowing that more than likely we're not going to come away victorious? I just want to be healthy. What is that process like when you're on the other end of the spectrum as a player?
It depends a lot on how you've been in years past. And it really, players are always going to tell you, like the guys that are on the team, they're never going to give you the straight answer, right? They're always going to say, no, we're going in to try and win. But everybody, you've got the realist in you, right, that knows, okay, if we're going to play playing Alabama, we're probably not winning this game. But the later I was at Rice, we opened with Texas A&M when Johnny was there, and played them really tight. We were down, I think it was a field goal at half, right? We played them pretty well. And that was the year that we won Conference USA. So we had a good team then, where when I first got to Rice playing, like I said, we played you guys, played Baylor, and it was 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. So going into games pretty well how you stack up. But that's a big reason why I ended up going to Rice. Was we played the Texas and the A&Ms and the Baylors of the world, and playing a school like USC, that's a great trip that those kids are going to remember forever. And you never know. Upsets do happen, crazy things do happen, but more often than not, like you said, you're not going to win those kind of games. But they are a great experience.
Taylor, the coaching carousel spun nearly out of control in the offseason. What did you think about the way that it did with Lincoln Riley at USC and Brian Kelly at LSU and everything that happened? What did you think about all that, and who do you think is best set up to win of that big spinning carousel in the future?
Yeah, I thought Brian Kelly came out looking just in the cadence of how he did it, and then his bizarre pep rally when he got to LSU. I thought that came out. I don't know if you're winners and losers here. It's too soon to tell, but his just didn't. It wasn't smooth. I would put it that way. Lincoln Riley to me was the biggest winner in all of this, and the reason being, he's never going to admit this, but I think he took a look at the direction that OU was heading in towards the SEC and said, I can go to a conference and go to a team in a conference that has been underperforming. If there's one thing he does at a really high level, and everybody knows it, it's recruit. And if you get those kids to USC and get them to stay, there's no reason that USC shouldn't be back winning the Pac-12 and competing to get in the Final Four inside of the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's such a talent-rich environment, and it is the premier school in that conference. To me, I think that was of all of the coaching carousels and all of the moves, I thought that was the clear winner to me.
It's actually given me my dream contract for any job. If I was ever big enough to say, I would like you to buy me a house in the nicest neighborhood possible in your area, and I would like to use the private jet whenever I want, and you can't say anything about it. I think that is got to be a dream scenario contract, no matter what your profession is.
Yeah, and there a lot has been made of, well, he's going to pay X amount in taxes in Southern California, but when you have that deal, you're not really that concerned about the taxes at that point. Plus, I think you'd rather live in the free house on the beach in Southern California than in beautiful Norman, Oklahoma.
Taylor, one of another issue with all of the moves and everybody switching conferences is scheduling and how you go about doing that. And I found this interesting. Dave Campbell's Texas Football has an article out right now about which 3 programs you want to see, with the school staying in Texas. As somebody from Rice, who are 3 programs you want Rice to continuously play year in and year out, regardless of which conference they're in?
I would love for Rice to always play SMU and Houston, because to me, Houston's the rival. They're a crosstown team that the Bayou Bucket's been being played for decades. And SMU, to me, again, like I said, is really a peer. After that, it's got to be one of the, either an A&M or a Texas. Probably Texas, just because there's so much history. Rice has played Texas for so long. But that's it's part of recruiting, even though Rice hasn't won against Texas since the early 90s. I think it's important to still have those games. But that is, you touched on it a little bit. It is a concern with the major conference realignment and the direction it looks like we're going, where the regional rivalries are starting to go away. And it's impacting, all the way from the Power 5 blue blood programs all the way down to the FCS level that are trying to bump up into the FBS. But those 3, SMU, Houston for sure, and then I would throw Texas in as well.
Taylor, awesome stuff. We gotta make this a regular thing, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on. And like I said, any publicity we can get my Rice Owls, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Well, Taylor, thank you so much. Taylor McHargue, former Rice quarterback and college football analyst, will be with us coming up. We're gonna, like I said, we got to make it a regular thing. Taylor, thanks a lot. Yeah, really enjoyed that, Garrett. I thought it was pretty awesome. So we'll come back. We'll take a break right here. We'll wrap up the 4 o'clock hour. In the 5 o'clock hour, the AD replay. This is Sick of 365 Radio on 365 Sports.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 with $5,000 down, cash or trade. TT Electra. See dealer for details. Step up your ride at Richard Carr's Summer Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month, or a 2017 Buick Encore for $183 a month, or GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. We pay top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations. Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul, Catalina, Garrett, Ross. The Smokes are on a Father's Day trip this weekend. And look, before we don't say anything about it, look, make sure you call your dad this weekend or go see your dad. It's an important thing. I'm telling you right now. Take it from me. It'll be my 7th Father's Day without my dad. It sucks. But I always get to think of him and have the good memories, but didn't mean to bring the mood down. But again, spend some time with your dad this weekend. Make sure. Mother's Day is always a huge deal.
Right.
As it should be. But Father's Day comes a month later, and then most of the thing, fathers, I think this is just, here's what you want, is I just want to be left alone today. But that's not really true. They want.
Yeah, I mean, look, like,
your dad.
Make me some breakfast. Let me sleep in a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, treat me the same.
Don't, here's the thing. It's not really leave me alone. Just don't ask me to do anything today.
Fair enough,
Like,
yes.
just take the list and put 24-hour hold on it. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair thing. I'm not a father, and I like that, and I like that age just for me in general.
I'm just trying to get some peace and quiet, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculously loud around my house. Like, I'll literally come in here early just to get some zen time, dude. Like, that's all I need for Father's Day. Just leave me alone.
Okay. And how old are your kids?
My daughter will be 16 tomorrow.
Okay.
And my son is 10.
Okay.
10.
So it's a different kind of loud than like the little kid loud, which is just a constant roar. This loud is like hustle. It's like it's like you're at the stock exchange, right?
Yeah, I mean, like my son, it's nonstop running around, jumping, tablets. It's so loud. My daughter's cool. Like, she'll just go isolate herself in the room. I was being a teenager, so I don't have to worry about her. But my son, man, like, I need some earplugs or something.
Yeah, well, yeah. All right. So here's a thing that just popped up on Twitter from the Field of 68. We love these guys, the Field of 68, but they put up this ranking: the top 10 best teams since 2002. 2015 Kentucky. I think honestly, most people would say that's a pretty darn good team. 2021 Gonzaga. Oh, they didn't win in 2015. They won in 2012. So that's kind of weird to me that it's there. But 2021 Gonzaga is number 2. Now, I don't feel like 2008 Kansas is really good. I mean, I'm sure that the guys on the current Kansas team might debate that a little bit, but the debate here, and I understand that we are a Baylor-centric program, is number 2 and number 6 are both from the same year. And they played a game in the championship. I don't know if people remember this.
Yeah.
That Baylor won could have been played backwards in the second half. Honestly, that's how much of a beating it was. So I don't understand the metric for these two. Just switch them, and then you don't have controversy.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back. You played it. You've settled it on the court. That's the first thing I noticed is, like, how that makes no sense. And even that 2020 Baylor team, I think, was better than that 2021 Gonzaga team. You know, unfortunately, COVID wiped that out, and we didn't get to see it. But that makes no sense to me. That there's no real logic behind that other than maybe you were just like a sympathy vote. Like, okay, well, we like Gonzaga. We like Mark Few. They're almost there every year, but we'll just let them have this.
Yeah. I hope that Mark Vidal gets to see this because I'm curious.
Oh, he'd be livid, dude.
his actual thoughts. Jared Butler and Maceo Teague and Davion Mitchell will all like make sly comments about it. But if you want the absolute gas can of opinions, it'd be Mark Vidal on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's kind of a weird thing. And look, they probably did it. So we've given them some publicity and all that. But I think that was maybe a slight oversight when they started doing this, or they wanted this to happen. Either way, it's a nice discussion to have. But I think most reasonable people would say, like, listen, the 21 Gonzaga team was a fantastic team. They're not better than the 2021 Baylor team.
No, and I mean, yeah, I think you're right. Just flip it and leave it alone.
Yeah, leave it alone. That way there's no discussion about it. Some Baylor football news. Well, I guess kind of. C.J. Rogers, the former Baylor quarterback who was a walk-on, has transferred to Texas State, which I think is, Garrett, a better fit for him. I think he'll play. He has a really good chance to play there. And look, as walk-ons go, he was a pretty darn good walk-on, but he was never going to play at Baylor.
No.
Yeah, he was just, I mean, the circumstance for him to get into the game at Baylor was not reasonably going to happen.
I think this is an intriguing fit. I mean, putting him in Jake Spavital's offense, obviously they didn't really recruit high school a couple of years ago, so there's less people in front of you that you're really going to have to battle it out with. I think it's a good fit for him. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do in that offense. I think they need to put more playmakers around him at the skill position to really get anything established. But if you're looking for an opportunity to get on the field, and I think that's ultimately what this came down to, right, was just looking for a chance to get on the field, it's the right move for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think it'll work, and I think it'll be great, there. And look, Jake Spavital, he's the portal king above Lane Kiffin because he's going 100% out of the portal pretty much. I mean, I know he did that a couple years ago. I don't know if he's going to stay on that, but, I mean, he was on our show and saying, yeah, I'm going to keep doing as much portal stuff as I can because for Texas State, that's what we just talked about with Taylor McHargue, is they're in a place where they can kind of, guys coming and like switching or finding where they should be.
They're a feeder school.
Yeah.
They've simply become a feeder school. But the crazy thing with it and the risk is, like, look, Kansas for years, right? Like they went and instead of recruiting well, they went the JUCO route. And it ultimately put their program behind maybe a couple of decades. Now, do you do that in this situation, or is the talent level you're grabbing if you're Spavital out of the transfer portal put you in a better position to not fall behind? I think that's a fine-tuned balancing act that he's going to have to work out.
Yeah, absolutely. And good luck to C.J. Rogers' liver. Just saying.
Yeah.
San Marcos is a pretty fun college town. Just
go get down.
They can get pretty. Look, so much fun that one of their best activities is I'm going to lay on my back in a river and just kind of float because that's all I have the energy to do today.
Not a bad spot.
No, it's not. It's great. Floating the Guadalupe's great. A great thing. When we come back, the AD replay. ADs from UCF, Rice, and Cincinnati here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jerome Ford, big seam. Jerome Ford is revving and tearing it up. Touchdown, Cincinnati, 79 yards.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports on YouTube. John Cunningham, the Director of Athletics at Cincinnati, joins us after we just heard from Terry Mohajir from UCF, and of course, 2 of the 4 new members of the Big 12, and John Cunningham joins us. John, Coach, John, thanks for your time. What has it been like these last less than a year from what the Big 12 dealt with Texas OU? All of a sudden, you're a part of it, and you're going to start playing even earlier.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. It's obviously been a whirlwind for us coming off of COVID and everything that happened there. Obviously, our football program has been doing extremely well. We went to the Peach Bowl in 20, and then last year, obviously, had that run at the Cotton Bowl. Well, right around the summer of last year is when we started having some discussions about potentially the Big 12 being an option, and it's been a dream for us for a long time. We put a lot of time, effort, resources into the possibility of going to a Power 5 conference. So when that popped up, it was a big deal around here, obviously, and we're just happy and proud to be a part of it.
These are fans who were used to, John, being in a Power 5 conference, and then you guys weren't for a while. What was the response like when you were, when you were able to just tell them publicly, like, hey, guess what, we're back in the Power 5?
I can't even explain how excited we are, and especially our donors. We've put a lot of resources into our program and have been heavily subsidized by the university for quite a while. And we've always felt like we are a Power 5 program in everything that we do. And we've been competing a bit above our resources. And I think our coaches are at that level and want to win and compete at the top level. So the chance to just tell our coaches, our donors, and especially our student athletes, our younger student athletes, that will get this experience, it was just fantastic. I can't even explain what it meant to us.
Is there any way you can explain how much that was amplified by also having a college football playoff run going on simultaneously? And I'm curious, as well, as kind of an aside to that, how much did that, I think, maybe inspire others across the country who aren't an Alabama or a Georgia? How much did you hear from others seeing the run that you guys were able to make and kind of breaking through that wall?
There's no question. I think it meant a lot to those institutions. I've been at those institutions before. I was actually at TCU when they weren't in the Big 12, and I was at Boise State. Obviously, 2 institutions that were just on the cusp for a long time and not able to really break through the way that we did. So I really think it was important. I kept talking about that. I kept talking about throughout the year. I kept saying we have pros on our team, and it ended up playing itself out in the draft. We had 9 guys drafted. And I kept saying, just look at the talent. Don't pay attention to the conference. Look at the talent of the team, and you'll see the high level that we're playing at. The only teams we've lost to in the past 2 years are Georgia in the Peach Bowl. We had them on the ropes, and then Alabama in the Cotton Bowl, and we played them pretty tight. So we certainly feel like we deserve the opportunity and very thankful for it.
We just had Terry on. I mentioned that, John, and I said, so who contacted whom? And he said, all I did was share my number with Bob Bowlesby. I didn't attach anything else to it because he's a member of a conference, and so were you. Can you kind of take us through those first few days when the Big 12 got up off the canvas and started to figure out what they were going to do?
Yeah, obviously, we had conversations even ahead of that, just kind of, letting people know who we were, what we were about, what we were trying to accomplish over the next few years, what we wanted to be. But, when that happened, when the news of Oklahoma and Texas broke, I did make a call to Commissioner Bowlesby. I remember thinking I was going to leave a message and let him know who I was, and he'd understand why I was calling. But he actually picked up the phone, and we had a really good brief conversation. At that time, it was just me kind of explaining our interests, which he obviously understood. And, didn't hear from him for a while after that, and then got a call from him. And, we were able to, my president and I were able to come down to Dallas and have a sit down with him. And at that point, it obviously went well. And he said, we'd like to have you guys be a part of our conference. So that was kind of the direction of it. Is a very simple process. I think before they went through a longer process and had interviews and had people bring presentations in. None of that occurred. This was very simple. They knew who we were. They knew us well, and we were a good fit for the Big 12.
When the Big 12 a few years ago had started to put, feelers out that they maybe wanted to expand, and then that kind of went nowhere, was Cincinnati a part of those, like at least preparing for that? And then did you just kind of have to update what you had said 4 years before or 5 years before, whenever that was?
We were a part of that, and yeah, correct. I mean, we had it all ready to go. And again, I think it was very obvious who we were, what we were about. I mean, what our football team was doing at the time was obviously something we could point to. The success of our men's basketball program over the years, and all the things that we've been able to accomplish in men's basketball obviously played a role in it as well, and all of our other sports in our city and our institution, our university. So it was all ready to go. And again, it wasn't a long process in terms of that type of review because they knew who we were.
John, you kind of mentioned, I'm sure you've crossed paths with many of the people you're going to be working alongside with the Big 12. What are those meetings, or what have those meetings been like? I know there's still some, Texas and OU were involved in this, but not this. You guys are talking about this, so it's kind of disjointed right now. But what's it just been like to get into a room with your future conference mates and just kind of talk about things?
I cannot thank the conference and Commissioner Bowlesby enough for allowing the four of us, the four new schools, to be in that room. And I know I'm speaking for Terry and Chris as well in the American Conference, because we really haven't had an opportunity in the American Conference be attached since we made our announcement. So to be in that room with the Big 12 and just have those key conversations about what the future looks like. Obviously not voting members, but just being in that room has just been really big for us and has meant a lot. So they didn't have to do it, and we appreciate it.
I saw where your football season tickets have been sold out. I don't know if that's the first time ever. Obviously, the semifinal run had a lot to do with that. How much of the future had to do with that as well?
It's all coming together at the right time for us, to be honest. I mean, I really believe our fans, they believe in Coach Fickell so much and what he's about, what he's been able to build. I think that they were going to sell that thing out, whether the Big 12 was going to happen or not. But it certainly helps, and we've created a heck of a demand for tickets around here, so it's gone really, really well.
Are you ready for the Texas versus Cincinnati, the schools in the state of Texas versus Cincinnati trash talk about what's really chilly? Have you prepared for that? What's coming in the coming years as you venture into our state to play sports?
For us, it won't even be a question. We know what chili is. It's that chili that you put on top of spaghetti and then pile on the cheese. That's chili. So whatever you guys do, you do. But it's a cultural thing here. I'm still getting used to it a little bit, to be honest with you. But my kids love it already, and it is a deal out here, man. When you get here, you got to try it. You got to go down to Skyline Chili and do the whole experience.
Well, I have my own, and I don't know what the hell they call it, but it's something. It's got some chili in it as well. So I'll try anything, and I'll do that as well. So you have this now where you're going to be in the conference about a year from now. You're already a part of it, but you'll be in the conference about a year from now. And then obviously there's some even focus on the revenue changes for you and others that are coming in. And when you have partial or full shares. What was the survey? I heard there was a survey that they showed to everybody about the future of the Big 12. Is it a lot more maybe brighter than maybe some people thought when it comes to revenue?
I think so. I mean, listen, I'm not an expert in the media space, right? That'll be really important, obviously, for our new commissioner to take on. And there are people and consultants that will come in and obviously work on that deal that will take place in 2025 for the Big 12 to get the new media rights deal. But I just believe in the conference. When you look at the teams that are in this conference and what we bring to the table, the fan bases that we bring, the amount of alumni. I mean, I think that one of the things that Cincinnati and UCF, you just had Terry on at UCF, we're two of the larger alumni bases in the conference now. We have 350,000 living alumni. We're 45,000 students at the University of Cincinnati. So we bring a lot to the table. We bring a passionate fan base. We bring eyeballs. We bring history in basketball, and we bring a lot of momentum in football. And it's the best basketball conference in the country. And that's not me just saying that. The stats play that out, right? So I just feel very strongly that we're going to be desirable, and it's going to be great parity in that conference, and I think we will have a great media deal in 2025.
And you got the historical football stadium in Nippert as well as you move forward. How much do you do between now and then to be ready on day one?
That's the campaign. You hit the name of our campaign, Day One Ready campaign. We're trying to raise $100 million. So we know that, we've got to do some things and put some real emphasis on our facilities. We got an indoor football facility and performance center that we're going to build. Going to break ground here very soon. We've got some basketball upgrades and improvements as well. So we just know that there's some things that we've got to do to get to that level and be ready across the board. And I keep talking to our coaches. We don't want to limp into the Big 12. We want to go into the Big 12, compete right away. And I think that we can in every sport that we play.
Last question. We appreciate your time, Mr. Cunningham. Is you have this football coach in Luke Fickell who's been a rock star. What's it been like dealing with him and working with him? When I say dealing with him, that sounds negative, but working with him, watching his vision, watching his commitment to Cincinnati as well.
This is what I get asked about him all the time. And this is what I tell everybody. I say he's a really great person. And, oh, by the way, he's a hell of a football coach. And to have that combination, I've been in this business out 17 years, and that's a unique combination, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. He's just a family man, and that's what comes first. He makes all of his decisions based on his family, and he loves this city. He loves the state of Ohio, and he's just been the perfect fit for us, and he has a great culture here. And obviously, he continues to recruit really well and play at the very highest level. So we're excited to have.
No question. You just described Dave Aranda, basically, with what Baylor has with the Baylor and their football coach, Dave Aranda, as well. I know you feel this, John. Thank you for being a part of the show. Everyone is thrilled. Everyone's excited about moving forward, how quickly the Big 12 got up off the mat, and having Cincinnati as a part of it. I think a lot of people are excited, and I know you are as well. So we appreciate you and hope to be able to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Can't wait to be down in Waco and see that new football stadium. I haven't been down there to see it yet, so looking forward to that.
You will love it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. John Cunningham, Cincinnati Director of Athletics. Terry, we are now joined by UCF AD Terry Mohajir on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Terry, we really appreciate your time. And we have an audience that's grown nationally since even late July when the Texas-Oklahoma story hit, but also because of the expansion of the Big 12. Could you imagine that it was going to go as fast as it did for you and the others, and also even a year later be able to play in the Big 12?
Yeah, I can imagine. First of all, thanks for inviting me on your show, and it's pretty cool coming after David Murphy. That's exciting, and it's nice to meet you. Yeah, no, actually, we were ready. So I think we were ready to go, and it wasn't that it's just about timing, and there was a crack in the door, and I think we were prepared to do it, and we were just happy that we got the invite.
How long, has the process been? I know that you weren't the athletic director when they started doing things like building new stadium and all of that, but when the decision was made, this needs to be a Power 5 program, how long has that really been in the process for UCF?
I think it started when they started beating Power 5 teams on a consistent basis. And, one of the things that I knew, I left a pretty good situation to come here because I thought that there was an opportunity and to get into the Power 5. Plus, it fits my personality. And, this is a really, really edgy fan base, and they're very active. I think right now in the Big 12, we're the second largest living alumni base behind Texas in the Big 12. So we're in the average age of our alumni is 38. How about that? So I think this all kind of goes together. You're very savvy. It's a very good academic school. This campus was started by the Kennedy Space Center. 30% of NASA's employees are our graduates. because of our engineering, aeronautical engineering. And so I think our folks and our key stakeholders in our community was ready to go when this week we get back with solve the crack. And the day that I got here, we started preparing for it with the right materials and the right going out talking to people and it all worked out.
How much did you see untapped potential early on coming on board of how much there still is left to explore with this fan base and all the capabilities that UCF has?
Oh, the sky's the limit. I knew a lot about the school. I worked at another startup program at Florida Atlantic University with Howard Schnellenberger for 7 years. And we built the stadium. So I did a lot of research on the stadium before we built theirs. They built theirs before UCF built their stadium about a couple years before we did. And so I kind of really did a lot of research, seeing the trajectory, but I saw how things on this campus changed when they moved from the Citrus Bowl to campus and just the fan base. I mean, we get about 12,000 students a game. I mean, that's good for any program in the country. We're young, we're youthful. We've got some work to do on operating capital, some facilities. But as far as a location and bringing new eyeballs to the Big 12 and having 3 time zones, this is going to be a fantastic. And my familiarity with the Big 12, I worked in the Big 12 twice.
Yep.
And I was there when the Big 12 merged with the old Southwest Conference, and I was there the second time when TCU was added into the conference, and Nebraska and Colorado left. So this is my 6th conference realignment, and so I had a little, unfortunately, I had a little experience with it. So it's just been a really good opportunity for us.
For those that don't know, Terry was at Kansas a couple of different times as a part of his career resume before now at UCF. Terry, there's no question that UCF is a growing brand. There's no doubt about that. The Big 12 has reached out to schools before, and as Paul mentioned, it did not work out. After the Texas and Oklahoma story popped, how soon did either Bob Bowlesby or somebody within the Big 12 or somebody representing the Big 12 contact you?
He didn't contact. I sent a note to him.
All right. What did you say? What was the kind of an idea of what you said?
I didn't say anything because we're in the current conference. I just here's my contact info.
Okay.
And so here's my contact info, and then that was it.
Okay.
So,
all right. That's self-explanatory.
Don't know why you would want this, but if you did want it, here it is.
You want to play a bowl game?
Best of luck to you during conference realignment. Here's my contact info.
Terry, how big is it for you guys to be able to make this move while the Big 3, Miami, Florida State, and Florida are all also in transition right now?
Well, when you say in transition,
at least football-wise.
Yeah, I think I think the timing is good. I mean, you can see in recruiting, we're battling everybody in our state and in the region and the SEC and the ACC. We're getting PSAs, prospective student athletes to commit to us, even over some of the blue bloods. And I think a lot of that has to do with our fan base, the eyeballs, the region that we're in, the location, the Metropolitan University. We got you guys, when we're all in the league together, you have to come here. We have a really nice campus, but in a very, very nice metropolitan area. And I think that's going to be the wave of the future. I really believe that. I think with NIL and all the opportunities of what you do life after college, I think some of the traditional college towns that don't have a big metropolitan base to draw from are going to struggle.
What were some of your first conversations like with Gus Malzahn when the opportunity presented itself?
Well, I mean, look, I was hired and I had to hire a football coach in February. So you can think about all the contracts, all the assistant coaches were all buttoned up and, everybody renewed. So, Gus was available. So that was good. And I was the biggest, questions I had for him is, when you put your heart and soul into something in coaching football, and those of you that are listening that knows that, especially in Texas, think about the high school coaches, everybody put their heart and soul in the game. And then you have something so traumatic happen to you. Are you ready to get back in it? That's the question you ask. And that was really more than anything. Was like, hey, do you really feel like you're ready to go? And he's like, yeah, I've been out for 6 weeks. I can't see it. I'm ready to go. It's like I'm ready to go get back in it. I can only play golf so much, and that kind of stuff. So he was ready to go, and he got here, and he saw the campus, and he started recruiting and putting together a staff like his hair was on fire, and he hadn't stopped yet. And we had a little bit of a blip with his wife's situation this past year. Had some serious health issues that were really scary, and we were able to navigate through that. Or he was. And he's back on track, and just working his tail off. We've got high-level recruits coming here every single day, and the weekends, and so he's off the race, doing really well. We're doing excellent in recruiting and staff and all that kind of stuff.
Terry Mohajir, he's the director of athletics at UC, up with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365
Good job
Sports.
On pronunciation, too. Hey, great job on pronunciation. Excellent.
Well, you have a last name like mine or Craig's. It's Smoak, but it's Smoak. You try to get it right, and I'm glad I did. And Mark Daniels helped me, and so did your media communications. I know you played Florida in December. I know you have them on your schedule in the future. There are other schools in Florida that Paul brought up that I think would make natural non-conference series. Is that a problem?
No, it's not. We're trying. It's just a matter of people wanting to play and their schedules, filling up. And when I got the job, we didn't have any games. As a matter of fact, I still needed a game. I got hired last February. I still needed a game for last fall, and I had to get 2 games for this fall. That's like the 12th hour, and so we're just behind the 8 ball. I'm trying to get some teams, in-state teams, to play. This year we're not leaving. We're only leaving the state of Florida 3 times this year. We play FAU and we play at South Florida this year, so the rest are our home games. And so it's really, that's what we want to do. What football is meant to be played in front of people, and the closer proximity that you are to your fan base, the better it is. If you can schedule non-conference games. So we'll continue to try to do that. Our fan base is used to going to Texas, used to going to Oklahoma, used to going to Cincinnati. So it's not, they've never been to Iowa before, but it's not going to be unusual for them to come to to Baylor and TCU and Houston. And we got a really robust alumni base in Dallas and in the Houston area. So I think we're gonna travel very well, and I think the Big 12 fan base is going to see the power of our alumni.
Do you have a good Howard Schnellenberger story? I mean, you got to work with a legend like that, so you got to have some.
I worked for him for 7 years, drove him up the coast of Florida for a long time. I got some great Howard stories, and he is. Well, what kind of story do you want? I'd
like to hear. I mean, he was the one, for people who might be watching don't know, but I mean, really, he's the one who kicked college football. He and Bobby Bowden got there at the same time, but I mean, what he did at Miami, and he kind of kicked college football into high gear in Florida when it wasn't when he got there. So he's a legend, and he was kind of I always saw him as kind of a character anyway, just because of the suit and the mustache and the way he carried himself. But did you have any funny stories about him?
He was probably one of the most influential people I ever worked for in this business. I learned more from him than any other administrator or anybody else. He was just a really smart person, high-level athlete, person, class act. And so one little story I'll tell you real quick that's kind of funny. Howard was big into getting helicopters to recruit, and he would take helicopters in South Florida. It's just a lot easier because of the traffic. You got 95 and you got A1A, and so it's just easier to get from high school to high school and going in town and get a lot quicker. And so one of his very first staff meetings he had, he was talking to somebody, and he was saying, we need to get some helicopters. And this one of the ops people says, "Coach, I have no idea how to get a helicopter. How do you get a helicopter?" He looked at him. He had his pipe, smoked it, took about 3 puffs of the smoke, and he says, "I suggest that you open the yellow pages and start with the letter H."
There you go. There you go.
So those little things like that, just he was just really good to everybody, and he literally, everybody loved him. When I worked with him, Jim Kelly, Jim Burt, Bernie Kosar, all those guys would come back to visit him. So I got the chance to visit with him. One of my highlights of I went to a Make-A-Wish Foundation dinner with Howard Schnellberger and Bobby Bowden, and that was one of my best dinners I ever had. I got to sit next to 2 of my favorite coaches of all time, and having worked for Glenn Mason at University of Kansas, and he was fantastic too. Learned a lot from him too. So I was very influenced by a lot of football coaches.
Terry, you have a lot of upgrading that you're doing. The facilities, you've announced that. There's no question the timeline is there. What are the priorities in order, or at least in somewhat order, do you have right now?
Well, after seeing Baylor's new facilities, I gotta go. We got a lot of work to do. So, yeah. The priority is a little bit of that. We're going down 3 parallel tracks. We got operating capital, meaning your annual budget. We've got maintenance, making sure that you're upgrading and repurposing some of your facilities, and then we have new capital stuff. And so we're going down those 3 parallel tracks. We got to do them all at the same time, and we're behind the Big 12 on funding, obviously the other schools in the Big 12. And so, we're trying to do that. We put together this Mission 12 plan that we put on our Microsoft site that kind of illustrates what we got to do to compete in the top half from a funding standpoint in the Big 12, not only from operating capital, but also personnel, where we are. And in some areas, we're right there. A lot of our women's sports, but then some of our men's sports, we got a lot of work to do. I think we have outstanding coaches that can compete in the Big 12 right away. But we do have some other things that we haven't been doing that we're going to have to do, like the charters and things like that we do sometimes for men's and women's basketball, but not some of the other sports like they do in the Big 12, like baseball, softball, volleyball, and some of those. We're going to have to invest in that, and we will. But that's just a transition the next 2 years.
Terry, I know that they've had like these meetings where Oklahoma and Texas are included, and then they talk about the future, and it's like they go out the door for a moment. It's been kind of weird, but then, you and the other school representatives have been involved in that now as well. But what's it just been like to kind of get to know those who you haven't known and get to see some of the people that maybe you knew previously as far as Big 12 leadership goes, and sit down and start having some of the conversations about the future?
Oh, it's really good. Every conference has its own culture, and you're trying to learn, just kind of the culture of the room. And I've known Joe Castiglione for a long time. I served on the college football playoff selection committee, and I served on with Joe, so I got to know him very well, and I'd say we're friends. So that, him being in the room is just normal to me, and obviously Del Conte's in there too. He seems like a nice fella, and so just getting to know some of the other 80s. I knew Jamie Pollard. I knew Mac a little bit when he was at Mac Rose a little bit when he was at Houston. So and getting to know Jeremy and it's been good, and spending a little time with them and learning a little bit more about the league and the league since I've not been in it. But as far as the towns and I've been to almost every. I've never been to Lubbock, but like Kirby Hocutt was a player when I was a football coach at Kansas. How about that?
Yeah.
So I mean, so it was you got a lot of commonalities, and I was born in Southwest Kansas. My dad worked in the pipelines out there, and grew up in the Kansas City area. So going to the Big 12 basketball tournament is going to be fantastic, and as you guys know, it's a great location, and I'm excited for our fan base to go to go attend this tournament.
It seemed like it has been a whirlwind. Late July, the story about Texas OU. And just a few weeks later, it was the addition of UCF, Houston, Cincinnati, and Brigham Young. And now, all of a sudden, you're going to be able to start playing football in the conference in almost a year, at least be accepted to start playing football in about a year. Has it been a whirlwind, almost a blur in some ways to you?
Yeah, it's been, and then just, the challenges of trying to, when you're negotiating to leave the conference a year earlier. That's been a little bit of a challenge that's been going on, but it was very professional, and we got that done. And I know there was a little bit of, angst on the Big 12 part, how they're going to do schedules. And so we're glad to get that resolved. And, once we found out, one of my first calls was to the conference office, and I also called Jamie Pollard, which is the current chair of the Big 12 ADs. And so I let him know that this was happening. He was excited. And I just think it's the Big 12 is in really good shape. And I know the AD at BYU fairly well, and I know, of course, the guys that are coming in, John Cunningham and Chris Pesman, and you're getting a lot of really strong, I believe, ADs added to a group of really strong ADs, and this is very exciting. Some of the analytics that they shared with the viewership, our rankings, where we ranked, and it's we're poised to be the best football conference in the country.
Terry, welcome to the Big 12. I know there's a little bit of time, but you're in, and the fan bases are excited. I think it was almost like, it wasn't flawless, but it surely did happen in a hurry with what Bob Bowlesby and company did. Thank you very much for your time. We look forward to seeing you soon and also talking with you again as well. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks for everything.
The Director of Athletics at UCF, Terry Mohajir, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Cincinnati's director.
Alan Samuels is having the Make the Switch sales event in June on the award-winning new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. In June, the special value is up to $7,000 or get $4,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. This legendary truck gives you that first-class feel. Alan Samuels in Waco, the place to shop for Ram trucks. First responders get $500 extra cash.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Rice University, and their Director of Athletics, Joe Karlgaard, joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports, and we appreciate your time. What's it like right now in the middle of all of this transition, all of this realignment and expansion in college athletics?
It's crazy. I don't know. Even when I talk to people who've been in the industry for, 30 or 40 years, who've seen it all, I mean, they've never seen anything quite like this. So it's a little bit unsettling, but we're trying to navigate these choppy waters over the next couple of years and hope we reach some stability here in the near future.
With your move, with what's going on at Rice, where do you see the future of Rice athletics? Because again, you guys are a very unique school. There's not, I'm not trying to knock everybody else's academic street cred, but you guys are kind of second to none when it comes to that. Like, where do you see the future of Rice athletics going now with this move?
Well, we're really happy to be joining the American Athletic Conference in 2023. That announcement came out today. It gets us back to some of our former partners from Conference USA. It gets us back in a league with a school like SMU, who is a rival of ours in the Southwest Conference for 85 years. And so we're excited about the partnerships that we'll forge moving forward. I think the future is bright. We've carved out a niche here at Rice. We've had a lot of success in some of the Olympic sports. Our women's sports programs have had pretty good success at the Group of 5 level. It was just last year that we had 5 of our women's teams ranked in the top 26 in the country at one time. We've got to get our men's programs back up and running. Our football program's been steadily improving every year since we hired Mike Bloomgren, and we hope this is a breakout year for us. Our basketball program, we think, is on the cusp of something special. But as you guys know well, our signature for a long time has been baseball, and we've got to get that baseball program back into the postseason and start charting the path forward to Omaha.
Joe, where were you, or do you even remember where you were about a year ago this time when the Texas and Oklahoma news broke? And when you first heard that news, did you realize this is about to get crazy for a lot of folks, including myself?
Well, it was my 20th wedding anniversary last summer, and we took the family to Maui, and I was on a beach, and I told myself, we were there for almost 10 days, and I told myself that I was going to put the phone on airplane mode so that I could bring it along so I could take pictures but not check on things. And I slipped. And of course, the news came over the wire, and I saw it, and I thought, this is going to have a cascading effect that'll probably affect us at some point down the road. So, it was sort of welcome and unwelcome news at the same time. I was excited by it, but I also wish I hadn't have gotten it in the middle of my 20th anniversary vacation.
So you didn't get off the grid. You thought you were going to get off the grid, and you did not get off the grid. And of all places, being in Hawaii, that beautiful, beautiful. Paul's going to be there in 3 or 4 weeks, in fact. Yeah. Joe, there was a time when the Texas-Oklahoma story popped in late July that there were thoughts the Big 12 was in trouble. There were thoughts and even reports that the American Conference was going to gobble up part of the Big 12, and who knew what was going to happen? Did you have any idea by then, at that time, or when did you know, okay, wait a minute, we're going to land in a better place ourselves? And Craig mentioned, did you think it would affect you? When did you know the American Conference situation was going to be good?
Well, I worked for Bob Bowlesby at Stanford, and so, I know how Bob thinks. I know how he operates. I knew that he would be aggressive and proactive in trying to find new members to replace Texas and Oklahoma. I thought that would likely come through some combination of the American, an independent like BYU, and perhaps some schools from the Mountain West. So we started thinking about, okay, what are the different scenarios that could unfold here? What are some opportunities that could exist for us in the Mountain West? What are some opportunities that could exist for us in the American? And as I started to have conversations with those commissioners and with ADs in those conferences, I became increasingly confident that we'd find a good landing spot when it was all settled. It really wasn't until maybe 2 weeks before the actual announcement in October that I knew the American was going to be the spot. But I would say, basically, when I got back to the mainland and started having those conversations, it was within a short period of time that I grew pretty confident that we'd be able to move into a league that was a better fit for us.
Now you have to, schedule all new games and things are changing. How quickly do you think you guys will be able to announce those kind of things? And kind of just a sub question, did 2020 and having to juggle a schedule like everybody did make maybe this at least a little bit easier because maybe not to stress on it as much as you would have in the past?
Yeah, I think so. We'll probably have a little bit different scheduling philosophy moving forward. Football is, scheduling, non-conference scheduling in football is, I don't think ideal for anyone, whether you're, at the bottom of the group of five or the top of the Power Five. Scheduling as far out as we do doesn't make a lot of sense. You don't know what league you're going to be in. You don't know how many games you're going to be playing within that league. You don't know the quality of the opponent 10 years from now. And so, it just hasn't made a lot of sense for a lot of different schools. You're seeing announcements coming out about games in 2032, 2033. But I think our philosophy moving forward is going to be squarely within kind of the American Athletic Conference philosophy and scheduling non-conference football games. We're going to try and do some Power 5 home and homes. We'll continue to play the Bayou Bucket game against the University of Houston, alternating home and away every year. Now that they're joining the Big 12, that'll be one of our Power 5 opponents. We're also looking at academic schools that are like us, like Dukes and Northwesterns and Vanderbilts, to see if they're interested in playing, and perhaps some of the publics as well. And then, we'll play good group of 5 games and probably have an FCS game every year at home. And then in basketball, we're going to put together a budget to buy games for us at home, which we haven't done in the past. And our coaches are pretty excited about that.
Joe, the conference with what UTSA and you and, of course, North Texas all going together from where you were in Conference USA to the American Conference, and then SMU already being there, how important is it, and was it even a part of the conversation that there will be 4 schools from the state of Texas in your conference?
Well, I think it's really important. Everybody wants to focus on football and basketball. But, when I think about our volleyball team, our soccer team, when I think about our other sports, having a tighter geographic footprint makes a lot of sense for us. And Conference USA stretches from, in its current iteration, stretches from El Paso to Norfolk, Virginia. And it's just a big league. There's not a lot of opportunities for us to drive. I think back and hear from our alumni all the time about the old Southwest Conference and being able to drive to everything. We're going to have more of those opportunities moving forward, not just with the schools that you mentioned, but, also having Tulane as a presence. Tulsa's not that far away. Wichita's not that far away. So we're excited about a tighter geographic footprint in those sports. And we're excited about going in with UTSA in North Texas as well.
Joe, I'm going to pitch you an idea here. When you said, playing the other schools like Vanderbilt and Duke and you kind of the elite Northwestern, whenever you play, whether it's basketball or football, but let's just say for football, Friday night academic quiz bowl, Saturday football game.
I like it. I like it. Try and get a sweep, but at least maybe we'll come away with a split.
Yeah. One of the things about your academics, and we hear even at times perhaps that is something that is not enough on the front radar. I'm sure that's something that will never not be on the front radar for Rice University, along with a few other schools as well. Are you concerned a little bit about that?
I think we have to live into our brand. We have to live into our values. We can't try to be something that we're not. We do have a niche. We do appeal to a certain type of prospective student athlete. What we're actually finding often in the transfer market and in grad transfers as well is that student athletes have maybe a subpar experience at another school, and they had considered a place like Rice coming out of high school and realize that that's what they want in their second or third go-around. And so we want to capitalize on those opportunities and not try to be, something that we're not. And we think we can have success by just being the best version of ourselves.
Joe, thank you. Appreciate your time. Hey, thanks for being at Baylor in that Cows event that they had, the Cows 1 event as well. I thought that was incredibly well done. It was good to see you there as well.
Well, and I want to say, we've got great connections with Baylor. I've known Max since I got here, and he was the AD at UH. And Linda and Brad Livingstone, and Shelby was a student athlete here at Rice. She played volleyball, so I've known the Livingstone since she was a student athlete. You've got great people up there, and it was my pleasure to bring our staff up to participate in Cows. We had a great time.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you being in Waco last week and on the show today. Joe Karlgaard, he's the Director of Athletics at Rice. They will be a part of the American Conference. UTSA also in North Texas. We've had UTSA. We've had all three of those ADs now on, including Thursday of last week, and now Rice as well. Marcos.com. There are 5 locations now in Waco. There's over 1,000 stores around the country. Fastest growing pizza company in America. And Bob Mock is an owner of 5 of them in Waco, including Hewitt, Woodway, Robinson, Belmead, and China Spring. There were just 3 about 4 or 5 months ago. He's added 2 new ones in Robinson and also off Hewitt. Delicious pizza. Unlimited large 2-topping pizzas. Go online right now. Order $8.99 each. You can use the code HOT2GO. Also, the Pepperoni Magnifico, $9.99 for a large. Use the code PEPMAG as well. $3 off large specialty pizzas. Order now. The code is special3. Unlimited medium 1-topping pizzas, $7.99 each. And you can order that now online or call your local or closest Marcos Pizza. Go online. It is Marcos.com. And on top of that, they also have much more. Pizza bowls. They have sandwiches, wings, drinks. What you need, they have them. They can even do gift cards for somebody if you want to get something for them as a gift. It's Bob Mock and 5 locations of Marcos in Waco, Texas, and 1,000 stores around the country. Go to Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 555.
Welcome back, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Garrett Ross's first go at commenting on the full top 5.
Yeah.
So, Jack, how many of these movies have you seen? Just one. Okay, and Garrett, how many of these have you seen? You know what
I've seen 2.
You've seen 2.
I've seen 2.
You've seen 2. Okay. Well, I mean, nobody sees. I mean, there are people, but not many people see more movies than me. What was that shot of? Just the ceiling? How did that happen? That's what our ceiling looks like, folks. The paramount of technology here. Number 5 in top 5 underrated sports movies. The Replacements. Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman, Jon Favreau's in this movie, who is now become a huge, Marvel and Star Wars director. But let's see who else is in Orlando Jones. A lot of good people in this movie. And it's here's the thing I think is funny about The Replacements. It's about a professional team in Washington called the Sentinels, which is not too far off the name of the Commanders. No. Which I thought they might as well just take that when they did it. But it's a pretty fun movie. It's not The Longest Yard. It's not, Remember the Titans or The Blind Side. But as a football movie goes, it's really super fun. If you have not seen this one, I highly, highly recommend it. Funny movie, good movie. Keanu's really good in it. Of course, Keanu's good in most of the stuff he does. He gives full effort.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you don't like Shane Falco, what are you doing with your life, right?
Exactly.
You got to like Shane Falco.
Yeah, you got to like Shane Falco. Yeah. And Shane Falco's based on a real guy named Shane Falco. So
that I did not know.
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, he is. All right, number 4, a Patton Oswalt vehicle. Patton Oswalt was a fantastic stand-up comedian called Big Fan. This movie is, it's really kind of twisted a little bit in that it's about a guy who's a huge Giants fan, and he and his buddy follow their best player into like a nightclub and are hanging out with him, and then the dude beats the crap out of him. But he won't press charges because he doesn't want the guy to get suspended. And then it his psyche kind of devolves to where he goes and he gets obsessed with this fan, this Philadelphia Eagles fan that calls the talk show he's on he's a sports radio caller too, which is why for me this movie was really, really interesting. But I recommend that it's really it starts and ends the same exact way, which is kind of cool too. There's some synergy in it, but it's a movie not a whole lot of people have seen, but I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's really good.
I went and looked at the previews because I'd never heard of this, honestly, but I'm familiar with him. I know of his work. It is very intriguing because it seems like something that would be a true story. Like you could really, fans are like, there's some people out there that are just crazy as hell that would actually do some of the things he did. And that really piqued my interest.
Yeah, it is. It's a good one. It's very interesting. It's, I wouldn't say it's like creepy. It's not like a horror movie or anything, but it's very real, about what obsession and loneliness and all these things it can do, because he's a dorky little sports fan, and that's he's kind of in his parents' basement, doing these things, and so it's really it's really good. It's a really good movie. I highly recommend it. Number 3, the third rated one of the Kevin Costner baseball movies. It's not Field of Dreams. It's not Bull Durham, which I think is one of the best sports movies of all time. But For Love of the Game, excellent baseball movie.
This is ironically the one Kevin Costner baseball movie I haven't seen.
You haven't seen it? Okay, well, he's pitching in this. He's pitching a perfect game. And he's an all-time great pitcher who's in his last year, and there's, it kind of flashes back. I think the only knock in this movie is that it moves kind of slow.
Okay.
Through a 27 outs of a game, more or less, and kind of flashing back in the game to his life and where he is, and
So is this like a farewell thing, like looking back on his career and his life?
It's no. It's this is probably good. This is his last start. This legendary pitcher, and he happens to be pitching a perfect game, and that's kind of going all through it, like ending on this unbelievable moment. But where he is in his life, his relationships with his girlfriend and all how it kind of came to be. And there's this the late Kelly Preston plays his girlfriend in the movie. And there's this, that's the kind of part where it gets kind of slow, but it's still a really good movie as far as tracking it along.
But that's a cool aspect too, because you're given an inside look. Like you think about golf, right? Players, you're in a big putt, but you're in your own head. So that's a cool concept.
It's not the story's not told linear, because he's he'll take you to the game, then he'll think about something. Yeah, so it's good. Number 2, Invictus. This is the one you've seen, right, Jack? Yeah, Invictus is one of the few rugby movies out there, and is about Nelson Mandela and this South African rugby team and the Rugby World Cup and all that, and how much the country of South Africa and all that overlapped all at once. It's just a really, really good movie. Morgan Freeman plays Nelson Mandela. It's a really cool movie. And again, even if you don't know that much about rugby, you'll enjoy the movie. So
I'm a big look. The world needs more Nelson Mandelas.
Exactly. No,
so yes, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Maybe by watching Invictus, somebody will be like, I'll be like Nelson Mandela. I hope so. Yeah. And number 1, 61. This is a movie about the Yankees, so I'm telling you, it's really good. Directed by Billy Crystal. It's about the 1961 home run chase with Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris. The asterisk that they put on Roger Maris because he played more games, and people in New York did not want even a Yankee breaking Babe Ruth's record. There was all this stress that what was going on with Mickey Mantle. It is the story pretty much as it happened, and there's no it's not like sometimes you see a movie about this and this whole Valentine to the whole situation, and it's definitely not that. It's a really, really good. Have you seen this one? This is one you've seen?
I have. It's been a long time, but it is a really good movie.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. Thomas Jane plays Mickey Mantle. Barry Pepper plays Roger Maris. And the stuff that these two guys went through in 1961, what should be fun for them in a normal baseball season, was pretty much anything but. And it was hard. It was arduous breaking this record. Roger Maris almost didn't want it the way it was going. So it's interesting to see a movie from that perspective of a guy who's about to do something that only one other person has done, and then has to deal with the repercussions of it because people in the 60s were somehow like offended that somebody could break a record that Babe Ruth had.
I'm surprised that still isn't the case today. Like it's the way baseball works, like the way they hang on to history and everything in the past, that seems like something that would still bug people to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. The problem is that records break so fast now in a lot of sports that, like there's not really any in football like you can think of that you would hold on to. Baseball, it's going to be hard to break a lot of the records that are out there. And then, of course, with home runs, it became a whole separate issue. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Taylor McHargue. Thanks to Ari Temkin. Thanks to Grayson Grundhafer. Thanks to Landry Locker. Thanks to everybody who's been a part of the show. Emery Winter working from home today as he gets a new air conditioner. Jack, Garrett, Smokey, and Craig are back on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Say I love you to your dad.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.